It's Gaming with the Guys, Bungles After Dark. We are back once again to talk about things Bushido this time around, like we've been doing lately. And on the agenda this week is our top three. We have briefly touched on, I should say briefly touched on because it's a 2 hour and something minute video that we put up and podcast talking about Ryu themes. So kind of rounding that all out, we are going to talk about our top three figures. So joining me again tonight is my partner in crime, Gaming Jason. Hey Jason, how are you?
Hey everybody, allergies kicking my ass right now. We're very hot in Chicago right now, and
hot is a word for it, yeah.
Very. So getting over my allergies. So if I'm a little bit raspy, that's why.
That's why. All right, we'll take a beverage of choice, perhaps a flaming hot Mountain Dew. We'll get that out of your system.
Oh my God, no! Right now, I feel like that a flaming hot Mountain Dew went incredibly wrong in my throat. It just exploded and had a horrible accident.
And speaking of flaming hot, welcome Grandmaster Cody to the show.
What's up? Speaking of flaming hot Mountain Dew, makes a great margarita.
Really?
Oh yeah, I would see that because you can.
Heat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's basically really like with tahini.
Yeah, I actually tried to crush flaming hot Cheetos and rim the glass with it. That didn't work.
Oh, thank God.
But it was actually really good.
Did you buy more after that, or did you just use that extra can that I gave you from last time?
Yes. I used the extra can
I thought you
had to buy more.
You could have just texted me. I just would have given you the rest of mine because I'm not drinking that much soda. I still got like half a 6-pack or half the 12-pack in my garage still.
I'm sure we'll find use for it. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
There, well, on the Mountain Dew kick, I will have to say I was watching TV the other night and they had a new Mountain. Well, I don't even think it's a new Mountain Dew flavor, but it's one they got. It's their Mountain Dew Spark or whatever the hell they call it. But it's raspberry lemonade.
That sounds pretty good.
One, the commercial looks pretty cool. Two, it's got to be better than Flaming Hot. Not that the flavor of Flaming Hot was horrible, but it was good. It was, like I said, for you guys, it's probably cool to have that sensation burning going up and down your throat. For an old man like me, it's like, oh, there's something seriously wrong and I need to see a doctor now. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's our Mountain Dew update. Ooh, we should get a big trailer for it.
Like ESPN.
We just need to get sponsored.
We could just say we're sponsored by Mountain Dew.
Yeah. No, then we got to do a whole thing, and
we could be like those Supreme people. They'll give us like mini fridges, like the pro gamers have with Mountain Dew.
That I would be okay with.
You'd be okay with that. You're okay with Mountain Dew swag. Be like race uniforms.
Their swag is pretty cool. I remember back in university, like when Mountain Dew would like try to sell their Kickstart, like they had the Pretty Boss, like the Boss promotional van. So I mean, like I'd be okay with some swag.
Well, okay, so if we're gonna go down that road, and then we're totally not talking about the top three tiers, but this is okay. So promotional things. One, you guys got cool promotional crap. When I was in college, way back in the day, all we had was
crippling credit card debt?
No. Well, credit cards, yeah, we would get all the credit cards and get a koozie and go into debt, which I probably did. But I had a koozie, so I kept all my drinks cold as I was going into debt because I couldn't afford a refrigerator. But it was the tobacco guys not doing cigarettes, but chewable. So you got the chaw. They're giving free samples of that out like left and right. So that was fun. So story from our local game store. And you guys have probably heard this story before, but it's one of my favorite ones to say. So, when they go and they give the swag out, the Mountain Dew, it's usually, we got the Mountain Dew girl. Said, hey, would you like to try our Mountain Dew? Yeah, right?
Oh.
So I'm at my friendly local game store, and this friendly local game store, and I don't think I'd be wrong in giving the name of it. So it was Games Plus in Mount Prospect, Illinois, USA. Been around I think they just had their 40th anniversary.
Yeah, the 40 year was like last week, I think.
Last week or 2 weeks ago. 2-3 weeks ago, yeah. So anyway, I was there years ago, and I was there with my wife, and we were talking with the guys behind the counter, because again, I've been going to that store since 86, 84, 86, somewhere around there. I've been going there a long time. So I know the guys that work there. I know the owners, and we're talking, and we were actually talking about something non-gaming. Oddly enough, we were talking healthcare for some bizarre reason. It was a very adult conversation. So all of a sudden, these two young women walk in, and the store has a main selling area, and then they've got a back room behind a couple glass doors, and that's where you could do your role play or your miniature games or whatever. And there was a good crowd in the back there. So we're up at the register. These two girls walk in, very attractive, probably in their early 20s, and they kind of look around the store, see what's happening. They kind of poke their head in the back area. We don't pay them any mind because people just kind of come in because they're not used to see. Even though some people in Mount Prospect have seen the store, they've never really gone in, or just check it out. Who knows? And it's on a main shopping concourse block or whatever you want to call it. So they kind of pop their head in, look in the gaming room, and they leave. We think nothing of it. 5 minutes later, the two girls come back in, and they're wearing the Red Bull. If you've ever been to American bars, they have what's called shot girls, and they go around. They bring you free, they sell you shots of whatever, Jägermeister or tequila or whatever. They were dressed like that, except they had like big strapping coolers with Red Bull in it. And so they come in, and I'll give them credit because they came up to the counter and they asked permission. So they asked the gentleman behind the counter. They're like, hey, we would it be okay if we went back in the gaming area there and give some free samples to the people that are back there? And the owner kind of looks at me, looks him over. He's like, no, I don't think that'd be a good idea. and the girls are like, they don't know what to say because I don't think they've ever been turned down to let them go and get free samples and whatnot. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they leave.
That's funny.
It's like, and the guy behind the counter is like, yeah, I don't think that would have been a really good idea for them to go back there. Not that the girls would have been in any trouble or anything. It's just I think it might have given a heart attack to one or two of the older gentlemen, and
Yeah,
the other ones wouldn't have known what to do anyway because they're given. Do I take the free drink? Do I not take the free drink? And there's a few that would just get sadly offended by getting a free drink from a pretty girl. I don't know. It's just bizarre. Anyway,
Yeah.
So that's my promotional story in regards to going to your local. That's why you don't see Shot Girls and Red Bull Girls and Mountain Dew Girls, if there is such a thing, going to your friendly local game store. Thus endeth the sermon. Anyway, I was gonna in addition to this story, which totally pulled me off tangent, I was gonna talk about I got in some games at the local game store yesterday. So for those of you that don't know us, which is most of our audience, Jason, less Cody, because Cody was going through a phase in high school. We won't get into that.
No.
No, we won't. But Thursday night has always been kind of a traditional gaming night for me and Gaming Jason. We have been doing this since middle school. We would go to our friendly local game store and we would game on a Thursday night. We changed that up last night just because schedules are starting to get funky. The world's getting back to normal, so people have to go into the office some days.
That's not great.
No, it's not great. So we switched it up and went on a Wednesday, which I got a game in. I got a game in, and another gentleman you've seen on the channel before, Brian, he got a couple games in, and we have a new player that was playing. Eric played. I did well. If you've seen my conversation on Discord, you'll realize that I've got I can't even call it a bromance. I got a snake mance.
I mean, you're just really selling hard on the Heavy Men's Steak Hair Club.
Heavy Men Hair Club, that was the big thing. But I will say I'm enjoying Mizuki, and Brian usually rickrolls me pretty hard, but he was playing Princess's List, and I effed that list up and won pretty handily. I think it was a 2-0, but towards
even with the immune to control.
The sisters aren't immune.
Okay, so they just shot. So they just dealt with everybody.
Somebody was going to get control. Let me just tell you that way. And Brian thought he was going to be clever and just that he would move and I can get more activations with my sister. Yeah, that's good, but I'm also stealing a lot of your ki, or you're using it to stay alive from the other things that are coming up. And
or God forbid that you controlled the sister that had the extra activation token.
I may have. I don't even know which one it was. Is it the one with the two swords?
No, they all can give each other extra.
They all give each other. So I will say he did make one one blunder in that he put one sister on round one. We were playing Sekio, so the 3 medium zones across the middle. On turn 1, he moved one of the sisters up into the edge of the zone and didn't realize, even though Masunagi had death sentence on him, he didn't realize that he was within melee range of Masunagi. So Masunagi did Masunagi things to the sister, and she promptly died to poison at the end of the round. She was exhausted when he hit, so she went back up to 3 dice. I think he might have bought a die. No, he can't because he only had 2 at the time. So he couldn't buy a die. So he was at 3. I was at 4. And, of course I had to buy Cleave.
And, of course.
That's like going to the dollar store and not like buying a crap ton.
I think I was conservative because I went 3 in attack, 1 in defense because I wasn't sure if he was going to try to stick me. He went all in on defense. So I would have probably dropped the defense die to go powerful attack. Wasn't necessary because I got success level 3 and just rolled decent for my damage and obliterated her 4 damage, and then I put another with the poison. It was all over. Yeah. So he lost one of the sisters on round 1, and that kind of put him on his back heels. He retaliated, destroying Satsuki, who's usually my battery, but
I'm surprised that he destroyed Satsuki instead of going after Mizuki at that point, especially since you had the sister.
I had Mizuki buried. Yeah, but I had Mizuki buried in the forest.
Oh, okay.
So she was getting cover, so it would have mitigated a little bit of that. And then there was kind of a jumble in the middle. I actually won tactical, which is odd for me ever. So anyway, was good. And then we learned, Eric was learning his, our new player was learning Savage Wave with Oni. We're getting him to turn. He's not used to how the game plays. It ended up 1-1.
Oh, nice.
But he really does not like control mechanic. And although we had to point out, Eric, you were able to do that, but he wasn't able to successfully get the roll. Actually, he was able to get the roll off to control because he had who's the 2-headed Oni?
Oh, I know which one's the 2-headed Oni. Yeah,
the 2-headed Oni that
Kenmono and Ushi, I think.
Yes. So he had that, and he got control off a number of times. But Brian's way of mitigating the control was he would go in. So he controls one of the sisters. Somebody comes in and he attacks his own sister to get rid of the control marker. Problem solved. Yep. So then we just controlled again. So he wasn't able to do anything really good with it. But it was very interesting. We always were worried about range, and I could see, especially with that sister with Brutal 1 on it. I mean, she was hitting on success. She was hitting, target number 1 at one point against. He was using Rakasha, the Destroyer, Devastator.
Oh, whatever. The one with the Torigate.
The one with the Torigate, yeah. So he's huge. So it's -3 to your target number. So if you don't move, it's
target number 1.
Is he huge? I always thought
he's huge.
Large.
He's large.
Yeah, he's large. He's on a large base, but in his traits they have the word huge.
Oh damn!
Huge. They should make it that way. So yeah, success level 1, but oddly enough, he lived. He had 4 Oni.
He's huge.
Yeah,
well, that totally makes him not worth 29 rice.
No, he is totally worth 29 rice.
Nope, garbage. Don't take him.
He survived, and he with +4 on melee damage. It's disgusting.
Oh yeah,
terrible.
So
plus you can't reroll defense against him too. I learned that one the hard way.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my gaming experience. I've wasted enough time talking about that. It was a fun night. He was getting to learn things, and he was getting very demoralized because all he seemed to be taking damage. We're pointing out, but dude, you just scored the victory point.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah. And I go, and honestly, and Brian's trying to tell him, the game's still really in the balance right now because he had, I think Brian at one point had one of the Oni. He had Rakasha down to 3 hits left. And then Rakasha goes with Torigate, smash, heal 2. Smash, heal another 2. It's once a turn. So it was the next turn he did it again before he took any more damage. So next thing you know, he's down to back to half health. Mm-hmm. And that's just, disgusting. So yeah. Anyway, it's going to take some learning for him and whatnot, and hopefully he'll start to enjoy it more. Anyway, so that brings us that's our gaming Wednesday. Hopefully we won't ever do that again. Or maybe people found it interesting. Who knows? Maybe I could explain it better. Or maybe we'll just do a damn battle report.
Yeah, we'll get to it
eventually. But why we're here tonight is we are going down we're walking the dragon path, or whatever they call it in Dragon Ball Z, where they're walking across the back of the dragon. I don't know. I'm just making this shit up.
I was gonna say, may as well just say surf the dragon at that
surf
point.
the dragon. So we're going to talk about Ryu. And last week we talked about themes and lists that we'd like to make with themes and what themes we like the best. This week we're going to talk about figures. Forget the themes. We're just going to talk about our figures. And our top 3 format is typically we like to talk about, what figures we like the most, whether it's based on how they perform, they just look cool, how they fit into our play scheme. However, so again, these aren't necessarily by the book, whatever, the best figures out there by the numbers or whatnot, because I might have an 8-point figure in there. Who knows? But they fit our play style. We find them the most effective. I won't quite say they are a must-have in anybody's list, but they are something that we find effective and probably take a lot, or would take a lot. With that being said, I will open the floor, and Cody, you've been absolutely patient, so why I meander and talk like an old man. So why don't you kick us off with your top 3 list? You are the Grand Master, so I think that means you either get to go first or last.
I think Jason should go first.
Jason should go first? All right, we'll
Yeah.
have Jason go first.
That way I can figure out the format and not screw it up.
That way I can get all my.
We talked about this pre-show.
And then, that way I can at least feel like I didn't that way I don't feel like everybody's gonna be like, dang, he copied the other people like last week or last time.
He totally net decked your list for the show.
Yeah, totally.
That's what we're gonna do. You're gonna see both me and Cody scribbling notes here. Damn it.
Yeah, definitely.
Bingo card.
That's it, pretty much. All right, then we will let gaming Jason go first. His first taste of being first. I went there.
Damn, that's rough.
Do I need to get the samurai sword for first place from Adepticon?
No, we'll save that for another time. We'll save
or
that
the samurai sword for first place at our own
Oh my gosh.
It's all good. Again, there's plenty of other tournaments that you can win and get other samurai swords. Just make sure.
I wanted to get one of those masks you put on the helmets, but those are ridiculously expensive.
Oh, the cover masks for the samurais?
Yeah, the demon-looking masks. I don't know what they call them, so we'll just call it a mask. But yeah, I wanted to get one of those. Anyway, so back on track. Focus, people. Focus. Only I could go off track and off the rails. Jason, top 3. Hit me with it.
All right. So my number 3 spot, I took Ryokusha, Samurai Jack, as my number 3 for my top 3. I just because I call him Samurai Jack, I just think the idea behind the model is kind of cool with all the time travel stuff. So that's my gaming aspect of it, or like hobbying aspect of it. But I just think the model itself looks kind of cool. If they do a resculpt with him, I mean, that'd be even cooler. But otherwise, I think where he is now and some of the cool things people have done with the model, he's just cool. And then just the idea behind him as a whole. Looking through the card and everything like that, one of his key abilities does help with range defense too, which I am a big proponent of. Range is really rough in Bushido. So being able to, I've got to double check how big the bubble is here. But it's a 4-inch bubble. So, I mean, you're still a little bit compact here with the temporal barrier, his active key feat. But I mean, getting range defense too is pretty solid. He's not necessarily a slouch. He's an average fighter too. So, I mean, he's maybe a little bit pricey for being a normal fighter, but I mean, he's got crit attack 1. So, I mean, that already is worth it. In that sense there too, and he still gets rerolls. Plus he's resistant, so that's always fun, and it's resistance too, so less likelihood that he'll get mind controlled by Mizuki. And then his words per game effects are pretty legit. The time reversal and then the time skip. I've only come across him a handful of times, but both of those once per game effects, the time skip just lets you skip an entire turn. So depending on how you want to play, or if you're playing against like a faction, if you're playing against like a speed faction or just a faction that could really get up the board, and they're going to get to the, hopefully they don't get to the objective before you. You could just skip over a scoring turn, so that way you're not going to get the 3-0, but you can get the 2-0. The time reversal, though, on the other hand, is pretty sweet because you basically get to revitalize all your models to either move them in better positions or to start really taking some damage to your opponents if you decide to use it turn 1. Or, well, you can't use it turn 1. Oh, yeah, you could. Oh, no, you can't. Never mind.
Unless you can find a way to get him some keys. So
Yeah.
the only thing I'm wondering about, so if I were to put this in War Machine terms, she's this guy's what's her name from
Haley.
Haley, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Because she would always screw with that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So, and you guys tell me if I'm right or wrong. So, time skip and time reversal, that affects everybody, friendly and enemy, right?
Correct.
I don't. Oh, okay, I wasn't sure if time reversal did it. When it says, I was guessing it was when it says all other models, but how I was understanding it was it's just all your models. So I was like, okay, cool. I know time skip takes off of everything.
No, because it says all other. It doesn't
other.
specify
Okay.
friendly or foe.
Yeah, and it
Gotcha.
won't affect him. And it won't
Yeah.
affect him. That
Right.
okay. So I just want to make sure that I wasn't reading that incorrectly. So that makes like a hella turn 2, to be honest, or 3, whatever you decide to do it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, those abilities are just pretty. Those abilities are so kind of out there. I just kind of like them. And then again, he's 19 points, so he's a little bit pricey for some of the samurais, especially since Ryu has access to a lot of really good samurai. But those abilities, I mean, justify the premium for picking them up. And if you can somehow manage to channel key to them, which I think I have to re-review the cards again after looking at my top 3. If you can find a way to channel some key into him, I mean, all the better then. So that way you can start using. That way he'll make sure that he'll get to use his effects instead of making it more orchestrated, kind of.
Okay, I could see him. I see him legit as a number 3. He's got some good abilities. How about you, Cody? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I really like him. He didn't make it into my top, but he would definitely fill the honorable mention slot. Whenever I've list built, I always try to add him, but he usually doesn't make the cut for me. But I'm usually just like, doing stupid stuff. But he's an all around good model, like Jason said. The sculpt is awesome. I would love a resculpt though, because the hand that has the little lantern or the like giant chandelier staff looking thing falls off all the time.
Oh, he's actually got one of those. I think I've seen one where he's just like pointing his sword for it. I didn't realize that actually the model had like a staff. I know the artwork does, but I didn't think that the time rod, we'll call it.
Yeah,
should not have called it the time.
The Haley rod.
That's not any better.
It's Haley's staff.
Yeah, mine breaks off all the time, which is why he is not painted yet.
Gotcha.
Because I look at it and it just boop.
He's also got Counter-Strike Defense 1, which I knew that when I was looking over the cards and picking my top 3. That's always just a nice benefit to. He's got crit attack and Counter-Strike. 2 of the most annoying abilities in the game. You got to pay 1 for it, so that's not horrible. But of course, if you take him in Blood of the Dragon, then it's like, I can crit strike everything at 0.
Yes, then I like that. I mean, I guess my biggest gripe with him, and I don't think he's at all a bad model. It's just the way they look at it is 2 things. Well, just one I would take him for is I love the temporal barrier. So that's a 4-inch mobile barrier of range 2 defense. So if somebody's going to go range heavy, or if you're taking, I don't know, Mizuchi, that's hard. It's a fine line between awesome snake woman and crappy dragon. Very fine line. So if you're taking Mizuchi, who's on a medium base, oddly enough, that range defense 2 bubble's kind of sweet, plus anything else that's in there. So that'll help give some defense. His other 2 feats, again, legit, really powerful, but they're once per game, which honestly they have to be.
Oh yeah.
But being able to, but affecting both groups. So unless there's an errata or something on there that I'm unaware of, if it's affecting both friend and enemy, I'm a little more hesitant on that. Time skip reminds me of something that Master Yakuza does, doesn't he? He has one where he just says, everybody doesn't do anything for a turn.
Like
No, it's
permanence
just
of
one
existence,
model.
but it's only one model.
I thought somebody has something that's very similar to that.
That's the closest is
It's usually just one
Oh
model.
no, he's got so Yakuza has one where it's you still get your activations, but you can't attack. You're basically passive for the round, if I'm remembering it correctly.
I don't think it was that.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, if his, at least for the time reversal, I mean, I kind of have to see it being both sides, because if it wasn't, then in all fairness, he would justifiably be a 25-point samurai if it was just yours.
If it was just
yours,
I get
guys,
it.
because at that point you just try to hold out as long as you can to not activate him, or again, if you have your infinite amount of pass tokens that Ryu can get, just basically pass through, and then you get 2 bites at the apple, or you definitely are going to make sure that you're going to be messing up your opponent and probably taking out a good amount of guys turn 1 or early turn 2 or late turn 2, which can be kind of big.
Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree. Like I said, it's just a little weird. That just gives me pause, I guess, for the figure or playing it in general. So what did you see what Master Yakuza has? Is it what I thought?
Yeah, it basically just makes everyone passive in X bubble. It's once per game, so
okay.
you can still go up and attack people, but you have to throw it all in defense.
Got it. So everybody's counter-striking defense to everybody else, but
if you
won't
are
matter.
lucky to have it.
Well, unless you're out of the
can't
bubble.
do special attacks and defenses either.
So yeah, there you go.
Damn, he just basically just says everybody's gonna, kumbaya this to.
It just makes everybody just go, oh, I guess I'm gonna, complex action turn Osatsu idols with all of my models.
Or focus. Yeah, there you go. I like that. So okay, so that was Ryokusha. What's your next one? As I will attempt to clear it.
My number 2 was Hanzo.
Hanzo, okay.
The Ashigaru Gunso dude.
Gunso, yeah, I like him.
So I think Hanzo still comes in the starter set too, which I was kind of glad that. I was like, oh, cool.
It's Hiramasa that does.
Oh, it's Hiramasa? No, well.
Yeah.
Hiramasa's cool too, but I like Hanzo a little bit more. One, he's 18 points. So, I mean, that's pretty affordable for especially just most models in the game. 18 points is kind of like that nice sweet spot that I try to hit it for. You can hopefully get a decent model and it can do some other cool stuff. He's a great supporter and he's a great fighter. That Nodachi at +2 and he gets powerful attack. I mean, he's only throwing 3 dice, but I mean, throwing +2 is nothing to sneeze at, especially since he's at least got a little bit of protection with armor too.
Yeah.
And also can give himself cleave. So that's always fun too.
Everybody's stealing Masunagi's thunder. That's all right.
Pretty much. And then from the support aspect, getting Tactician is awesome. He works better with Ashigaru than if we were playing a full samurai list, but being able to at least use Move It is awesome if you have the extra Ashigaru. Then being to playing into them. But honestly, I'd almost say you could take him for a beater if you really wanted to, if you're playing an all samurai list. There's some better options, especially if you're wanting to stick more with the samurai stuff. But I personally wouldn't I wouldn't feel bad, I guess, is the easiest way to describe it, taking Hanzo with a bunch of other samurai, just because he does mix it up a little bit. And he'll actually, minus crit attack, he's going to be more consistently hitting something hard because he's +2 on his dice, possibly going, he's +2 on his dice. And then getting cleave, he's got brutal too. So he'll actually just beat someone into the ground and not rely on crit strike. So making him a little bit more consistent. And then, that was kind of the main reason why I picked him as a number 2. Definitely somebody who I think should be in everybody's collection if you can get him, just especially if you're playing Ashigaru or if you want to play more Ashigaru heavy. He's definitely an ad. But otherwise from that, I mean, I can't say, I guess I can't really praise him enough for what he can do. Hiramasa is awesome because he's got the gun, but like I said, I just like Hanzo better.
I don't disagree. Sorry, I'm doing something, so I apologize. There we go. No, I think you pretty much touched on all the important things that he does. There we go. Sorry, I had lost you all. Well, I was trying to get the back of his card so you could kind of see the back of it. Which apparently I had not saved. I saved 2 of his front because that was worth it. So Cleave, everybody knows what Cleave does, is brutal 2. And then Move It, that's the one that I thought was probably his most interesting ability, or feat, I should say. This model's controller chooses up to 3 other friendly Ashigaru models within this pulse's area effect. These models immediately perform a walk up to their move stat in inches. So if you really need to close ground, you'll be able to do it. Mm-hmm. And get up there without having to use any of your activations, which, if you think about it, with Ryu's kind of filthy given the amount of pass tokens that they could generate if they need to. I also think Hanzo has a fairly good bubble for his leadership.
It's 8 inches.
8 inches is good.
Yeah.
Even on a +1, that's still pretty legit. Command is nice if you really want to have a couple of Ashigaru beat up on something. So yeah, I don't disagree. I think he's a very good model.
It's actually almost worth it too. It's just being able to have Tactician too, because then you're definitely going to be taking over those. You're more likely than not going to win that tactical role.
Yeah. All right. Most likely. What do you? Is there anything else you want to add about Hanzo there, Cody?
No, I think between the 2 of you, you guys covered basically everything, and I know I went really in depth into Hanzo in the last episode, basically saying all the same stuff. I mean, he's just all around a good model. At 18 righties, he's just solid. And most of the theory crafting lists that I come up with basically start with him.
Okay, well that's right there is a good selling point on him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's your number 2. So that brings us to your number 1, Jason. What is your number 1? And I'll struggle to find the card.
The greatest samurai of all time, Takashi Hiro. Not the other dude. Not the other one. Akio, or what's his name? Not the 25 pointer.
Akio, yeah.
Oh,
let me find
yeah.
So Takashi Hiro.
Takashi Hiro is the true greatest samurai of all of Ryo, and he's my number 1.
Okay.
They only made him cheaper because otherwise, I mean, he would make Akio look bad.
Oh, there he is. All right, I finally found him.
Glad they made him cheaper
because he's got that evil-looking mask too.
There's that too.
Well, that's the old model.
I know, but that was honestly, that old model was not a bad model.
No.
Oh, is that the one with because that was one of my selling points, is he's just a cool model. Then the old model was the one like where he's like doing like the stab motion, right? Because that's the one that I think of when I think of Hero.
You can see it on the card if you look.
Oh, okay. So I'm thinking of the last edition one. The open stance is not as cool. So I guess there's half a point retracted from that, because I'm thinking last edition where he was like doing the.
Yeah, now he's kind of like the wide open, come at me, bro, look, or whatever.
Pretty much.
Well, no, the new one is the one where he's got the sword in front of him, both hands, like this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the one where he's overhead jabbing. Okay. Yeah. The drawing on this card is he's more of a wide open stance.
That's the last edition.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, then the new edition one, then that's a legit model. I think.
Yeah, the resculpt is beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree.
So that's why that's one of my main points that I put for him. His stat line is just legit overall. 4 dice in attack, 4 dice in range. If for some reason they start giving out weapons like Bachi, where it's like, here, take this bow, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I have a boostable range attack, which is awesome. And then his specials are good too. Getting crit attack 0 naturally, and having 4 dice. I mean, you don't have to, but I don't see why you're not calling it every single time, unless if you need to make space, and then he's got to use push defense, which is a shame, because I mean, it's cool that he's got powerful attack, but I can't see him really wanting to use it, especially since you have crit on 0.
It's for those people who have their clan armors, or you go up against the new Koga model who just goes, oh, I'll spend 1.
I guess.
Yep.
And then otherwise, I mean, he's got leadership for other prefecture models. That's super awesome. So that way they'll more likely to make their more likely to make any leadership tests.
Yep. And don't forget, leadership also affects itself.
Oh yeah, so he's not going to be afraid of anything. With that and bravery, he's most likely not failing some checks. Armor 3, which I mean that's mini moto levels close to armor for a majority of their samurai, so that's respectable, and he's gonna definitely be tanking. And then his key feats are awesome. Dakota, awesome, giving yourself feint 1. Can't go wrong with that. Tunichi is unblockable, which that's even better, especially if you're gonna call crit strike, because someone's definitely gonna have to put more dice into defense than at that point, even though, let's face it, if they're gonna call crit strike on, or he's a crit strike 0 model, so most people are gonna probably load up on as much defense dice as they can, to avoid getting on that 0 chart to get killed on Snake Eyes. And then Umbrella Block's just kind of cool, so I guess it's a nice way to protect him if he really needs it, since it's an instant.
Yeah, it's an instant. That I think I like the most about it is that it is an instant. 'Cause I think on other models, Umbrella Block, like on others, I think you have to. No, I think
No,
it
it's
is an
the
instant.
Umbrella
I always thought it was
Block's
an active for
universally.
some bizarre reason. I'm thinking Satoshi getting the extra +1 on his parry is an active.
Defensive stroke or whatever.
Yeah, that's an active.
Yeah. No. So I mean, I know that there's a lot of models in the game, or there's a lot of models in Ryu that I think could vie for that top 1 spot. But to me, I just think that Hero represents the faction the best in kind of claiming that top 1 spot. He's just a really good model, especially at 22 races is what he is. So pointed out, you can give him the enhancement card to make him Ashigaru then, so he can basically go on any list. He is a model that demands respect, and he can walk the walk, unlike Itsunagi to an extent.
Wow.
Oh, geez, shots fired.
I know shots are fired, but I mean, we all came to that consensus. Itsunagi's good. If Itsunagi had at least like a couple of the things on here, hell, give Itsunagi crit attack, and then
oh god, no,
crit attack 0.
That would be horrible to have Itsunagi with crit attack. That would be a total nightmare.
Yeah, but I guarantee more people would take him, and then if he dies, you feel slightly better because you're hoping that he lobs.
No, I think he has the abilities he has, and he's pretty set. I like. So I'm going to chime in first. I like Takashi Hiro. I don't really have anything against him. He's a solid 22. I think he's well costed, and I think the biggest selling point for him is he is very, what's the word I want to use?
Reliable or safe?
No, very direct. You're going to use him. You're going to use him a certain way, and you're really not going to vary from it. So he's like a gun. I'm going to put him at something, and I'm going to try to kill whatever it is. And that's what he's going to do, or he's going to tie it up. I put him against the biggest model out there, and I'm going to tie it up for the entire game if I don't kill it.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's kind of where the push defense comes in, though. Like even if he's not necessarily wanting to tie something up, but if someone goes to tie him up because he is such a fearful fighter, he just pushes them away, and then he's walking over. Plus, if people are on the Discord, there's a way to get him up to stupid amount of activations with lists. Like he can basically master a Kariat, and it's just dumb. But someone put a whole like map together on the order of activations, and I don't remember what he gets up to, if it's 8 or something, but it's just insane.
Is it as complicated as the Gundam games flowchart for playing?
I wouldn't know. I've never seen that.
Oh, it's that cool game. Wish I could get into it, especially since I've been buying more Gundam models. But that flowchart is just like, oh my god!
It's a homebrew game that they make locally that they play with the Gunplas, and it's just a combat. It's a
it is crunched. It is
2-page spread open like that flowchart. It's kind of crazy. So I could see him totally being a number 1. You could build a list around him for sure. And you could do it if there is a card that makes him Ashigaru, then you could spread him in just about all the themes, and I could see him being your highest pointed model, to be perfectly honest. No problem. Easily.
He's and like you said, I mean, he's great for what his point is. I mean, I don't want to say he's undercosted, but I really sometimes think that he's undercosted. I almost get Masanagi type vibes from him a little bit, where it's like, damn, he's only 22 rice, and he could do an awful lot of crap for 22 rice, where it's like, I am more than happy to pay that.
I think I think the analogy to Masunagi works well because they both kind of. I think Masunagi is a bit more direct and straightforward. Fewer feats, fewer traits, and fewer abilities on his katana, but and he can't hold in as much ki. He's a much lesser model, but I think he does his killing a lot better than Takashi Hiro.
Yeah.
Part of it is he's got the +2 melee strength. And again, the only reason I'm doing it is because we've only really talked about the two factions so far. So that kind of does it. And then he's got the armor 3, he's got the leadership. So he does a lot more, and he definitely earns his points. But I don't think he's overcost. I don't think he's undercost. Honestly, I think he's one of those that they got just right.
I agree with that.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead, Cody. Sorry.
I was going to say, because then even if you do start adding stuff on him, like his upgrade to make him an Ashigaru, the Arashi's fan to protect him from range, then he starts getting up into that 27 plus rice range, and then he's a little bit scarier, but he's also a third of your list almost.
Nah, just put Vile Rajan's breath on that guy and just be like, "Fly, samurai, fly," and then
you can do that
him.
too.
Could do that too for sure,
especially when he has 8 activations.
It's disgusting, very disgusting. All right, so those are your top 3, with Hiro being your number 1, Hanzo your number 2, and Ryoka Sasha your number 3.
Yep.
Do you have any honorable mentions that just didn't quite make the cut because these 3 were so darn good?
So my honorable mention is probably going to be a little bit of a weird one when I was flipping through everything. Daisuke.
Okay.
And it might be worth pulling him up because when I was flipping through everything and just looking through everything, I was like, oh damn, he makes my Silver Moon models for support. Like, wow, my guys are way overpriced now at this point.
Here he is.
So Daisuke, the first thing that draws me to him, he's 8 rice. That's pretty legit right there. And then he has heal too, so not the end of the world. But when he can do his prayer of healing and his prayer of purification, the prayer of healing is a 6-inch bubble that basically says if you're within the 6 inches, I can heal you too. Which that's like, oh damn, that's huge right there. And then prayer of purification, I think Temple has something like that too. Where here, let's take a look here. So instead of healing wounds, you can remove a number. You can basically remove 2 markers. So Berserk, Blind, Control Fire, and Poison. Or Spirit Block or something. Yeah, so you can remove you can almost remove just about every marker type except for except for like Bleed.
You can remove 2 markers because it's heal trait. It's the same amount of markers as you can with heal, and it pretty much does everything. So
it covers the gamut of stuff that you'd want him to. The ones that you'd reasonably make sense that he could heal.
For those worried about taking Temple Kenshi out, he removes Spirit Block. Hooray!
Right.
And then he generates 2 ki a turn. So I mean, he's for 8 points. I find, unless if I'm trying to build a specific theme, because I think he's also we have to flip him over. I think he's Hair Clan.
No, he's not.
No.
Oh, okay.
He is CJ, I believe.
Yeah, I think he's a CJ. Hang on.
So he can go unless if he's breaking a theme restriction or you're not thinking about going to Order to Battle or one of the Ronin themes. I personally can't see a reason why not to spend the 8 points. I mean, he can be a flipper at that point, but otherwise, I mean, being able to have that mobile to basically being able to heal every turn or be able to remove status markers, that's huge. Also, he did have a virtue effect. Yes. If you for some reason happen to find that you got virtue tokens, I don't think it was that great of a thing, but I mean,
Courage 1.
Yeah, so I mean, it's courage. So I mean, it's something. I mean, the fact is that again, he's an 8-point model that also gives you a virtue token effect if you happen to get virtue tokens. So that's why he's my honorable mention. It was just really difficult for me to probably throw him in the top 3, but I definitely feel like that he does deserve an honorable mention.
Yep, I can see that. I could see that totally. 8 points is filthy for someone who could throw healing out to 6 inches.
I think. Well, I know he can
it's like
be taken in Claws of the Dragon, but let me check something real quick.
Well, yeah. While you're checking, I'll babble a bit.
Okay. He's
go ahead.
The temple Atsuko, he's a 6 rice, but he has the prayer of purification, but he doesn't get the prayer of healing, so that's probably why he's cheaper. I was just wanting to see if he was similarly costed for what he did.
Well, and then so if you look at it too, because I was thinking the model that came to mind that I thought that he looked a lot alike, and it's the new. Give me a second while I navigate things here really fast. This is not as fast as I would like. Is the new from the new 2-player starter?
Oh,
where is she?
The good chick.
The good chick.
the main heroine or whatever.
Main heroine. Yeah. That sounds so funny.
That's why Koga's always trying to go get that.
Why is she not in here? Oh,
because you're probably
because it's not. You know what? They no. They have the Hizomi, but I forgot on the Wikidot they haven't put the. So in the app they have all the cards. Hindori, I think her name is.
Yeah.
She has the healing at range, and I think she has something similar to the purification, except I think she could pump more ki into it, whereas he could only he can only remove 2 tokens. I think she can remove more. But she's 17 points. I mean, she fights better. You know what? Hang on, I'm gonna have to look at my app.
Model. She shoots lightning out of her hands. If I remember the
model. Oh, I didn't even. You know what? The model. Yes, she's got that aura around her, but I didn't remember seeing a range attack on her.
She doesn't. She's unarmed. Heal 2, 2 melee, 1 range, 2/8 for ki, 4 move. She has the same prayer of healing, but then she has soothing shomyo, which is a complex, and everyone gains immune berserk, and then when rolling damage against a friendly model within the aura after the result is determined, roll an additional die and choose 1 dice to remove.
So that's kind of cool. That's a complex action to pull that off. But it is an aura X, so I mean, you could if you really pump it, that's kind of huge.
Yeah.
And if it is that
if she was 12 or 13, I would definitely put her in more lists, but at 17, I don't even look at that model.
Hey, but she does have Oh Happy Dagger. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So you kill your own model so that way you can kill
when
your
one model dies, then she dies.
When Koga dies.
When Koga dies. When her
and she gets vengeance enemy, so I mean she'll go 3 dice. Okay.
Yeah, 17. I mean, so if you're looking at something that now I'll say the soothing shomoyo. Yeah, I just butchered that. That's kind of powerful, but again, with it being a complex, that's rough to take that. Unless it's now, I'm just reading it really quick. Models in the aura gain immune berserk, like Cody said, when rolling a damage roll against a friendly model within the aura after the result is determined. Roll additional die. So the question is that does that last until the end round?
Yeah,
it doesn't say so. It does.
Okay, then that's not as bad. I shouldn't say it's bad. It's more acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
And it's a one-off type of ability. I don't feel like it's going to get used all the time. Of course, when you're playing against like Void Monks, and then she's going to use is like I give everybody berserk, like haha, my bubble to protect me from getting berserk on everybody.
Well, but I mean, it just when rolling damage against a friendly model, that's kind of huge because then you're essentially making everybody weak.
Yeah,
kind of, because you're replacing one of the dice.
Unless you play against Jason.
With 3 6s, which one do I replace? And
yeah,
I roll a 6 for him. Oh no. Yeah, that's not as much, but yeah, I that's what I'm looking at. I'm like, okay, so how does Kazumi match up with, how could she be 17 and he's only 8? I mean, he even has reach because he's got a staff. He's got a stick he's beating somebody with, and she's doing kung fu fighting with her hands.
I honestly don't know at this point. I mean, I think Daisuke was one of he came from last edition, so I can't really say why she's costing as much as she is, unless if there's like an enhancement or an equipment card that will, of course, add to her. But
that might be it. That's the thing I'm not seeing.
But
because he could even, and here's something I didn't even, just looking at his card now, he could boost his ki stat. So if somebody tries to control him or mess with him, he can
try to fight it.
He could shrug it off, and it's not that expensive for him to do.
Yeah, that's true. I think he holds less ki than her, but I mean, 6 versus 8, that's still not a, what,
It's
9
not a
point
game break.
difference?
Yeah, that's not a 9-point difference.
No.
So there might be something else baked in, and I find his, both of them have the prayer of healing, which is exactly the same, but the soothing shimoyo versus prayer of purification, I kind of got to go with the prayer of purification, especially in the new world of void monks and effects getting stacked on you from poison markers to fire markers to whatever markers.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. So that's a good one there. So all right, I like it. So that was Jason's 3. Again, Hiro, Hanso, and Ryoka Sha. 1, 2, and 3. Cody, that's bringing us to the Grandmaster. Do you want me to go Grandmaster?
No, I'll go now.
Okay.
Now that I got the format actually figured out. Right. The wall of text and the messages, I was just like, I can't focus on this.
I'll write it up nicer next time. I'll put it in the spreadsheet format for you.
Yeah, there we go.
Fill in the
so my number 3 is probably going to shock everybody, as it's only a 5 rice model, and that is the Goshi.
The Goshi. You know what? I won't. I will not lie.
Goshi.
I saw that, and the problem is going to be is I probably don't have her up here because no, I do.
I was going to say, if not, the profile is very blank, but 5 rice, 5 wounds, 2 attack, 2 range. Not that she has a ranged attack, but 4 move, 1/6 for ki. She's got reach. Really, they produce 2 activations, and they get 1 pass token per turn. So it just helps with the Prefecture pass token spam, and you can bump them up between inspiration. Some of the themes allow you to get coordinated attack, so on and so forth. So then it's like, oh, this little model is now beating the crap out of my stuff.
And even if she's not beating up on stuff, I mean, she's a valid model to either go and harass people or go and flip idols
and catch arrows.
There's that too.
She doesn't have any. Yeah, she doesn't have any negative like aloof or insignificant or anything like that. And the model's not terrible. You can definitely tell it's one of the older sculpts. So it's not as nice as some of the new ones, but it's also not as bad as certain ones. Cough, cough, Grey Pilgrim.
Grey Pilgrim is one sexy lady. All right.
I actually don't hate it as much as most people do, but
I think they could do a lot better with it. I won't lie, but it doesn't bother me as much. But of course, I like Saburo, so
right. Yeah, I hate that model. But yeah, so that's my number 3. Pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy with it.
No,
I can't find a reason to say that I don't dislike it, especially since mill training is only 1 ki and it plays into what it needs to. And then I have I'm familiar with using cheap ass models. The fact that you get to take 2 of them is even better, because I know as hell I take my 2 cheapy models if I can too. You can easily find a way to make room for 10 rice in your list to make sure you get both if you can.
Well, if you get both, or even if you just got 5, let's say you have just 10 rice left before you're actually getting equipment cards and things like that. 10 rice and equipment on a faction like Ryu is kind of a lot. So putting in a 5-point model is not bad. And now that they've made the new ruling about insignificant models, I think I don't blame you for putting this at a number 3. Because it can do the things that it's not insignificant. So that right there means it can flip idols. It can tie things up. But more importantly, it could catch arrows. And I don't really fuss if I lose a 5-point model to a really good arrow shot.
Well, exactly. She can be a speed bump, if you want Takashi Hiro or whoever beat the crap out of something, just throw her at it, and she might be able to soak up a couple activations and live, and then you get the outnumber, or she dies and ooh, you lost 5, but then he's going in and beating on a exhausted model.
Exactly. Or she comes in and cleans up. And with reach on the Yari,
Yep.
that means she strikes first unless somebody else has reach, or they got to spend points to get lightning reflexes or whatever, whatever to give them that ability to go, to strike first.
That
So
was what I was going to
Exactly.
say. That's a legit one too. That you get a 5-point model with reach, and Gorak doesn't get reach on that. So it's like it clearly is just an oversight. Then at this point, if a 5-point model has got reach and Gorak
well, she's
doesn't,
got a Yari's a big stick with a
dude,
pointy ass
Gorak's sword
so.
is bigger than most Yaris in this
No,
game.
it's not, but that's all right. All right, so that's your number 3. I could see that definitely being a 3. I could see that being a good base to build on, especially if you're doing an Ashigaru heavy list. So what's your number 2?
My number 2, we're gonna go with Takashi Hagane. So she is 19 rice, all around just great samurai, 4 attack, 3 ranged if she ever gets a ranged weapon, 4 move, 2/6 key, 6 wounds. She's kind of similar profile to Takashi Hiro with the combo attack, counter strike, or well, she has combo instead of critical, but then the counter strike and push defense. Same armor stat, armor 3. She's got charging bonus fearless, which, you look at it and you're like, well, why am I going to charge? Well, you add her, I think it's air by deed or air by blood, whichever one goes for her. One of those two.
I think it's hang on, I'll see if I go ahead, keep talking.
Yeah, the one goes on her, the other goes on Hero. But that gives her Bonsai. So then she's only charging for 1 activation.
That's legit.
Yeah, I think hers costs 2 rice though, so it puts her up to 21.
We'd still pay that.
But yeah, it's still really good. She's got Indomitable, Prowess, Parry built in, Split Attack, which I've never used, but got used against me quite a bit at Adepticon, and it is a very effective ability if people group up.
I think it's effective. So split attack in general, I don't have a whole lot of models in Edo that have it. But split attack in general, 1 activation takes away 2 activations from your opponent, and
Right.
it costs you a die. I
Yeah.
mean, there's nothing. It's all good, and if you pick the right model to do it, even better. As long as it has Indomitable, you're in good shape.
Yeah, I find models with split attack and without Indomitable, it's like it's
a little
cool.
rougher.
It's like I don't see a reason why I would ever use this unless I'm fighting against like Goshi.
She just eats Bakemono for breakfast.
Mhm.
Even if she didn't have Indomitable with the 4-die melee pool base, she would be able to do it still. But, a 3-die samurai without Indomitable, that'd be a little rough.
And she could, have her go in and tie up go and attack two durable models with combo attack. I mean, she is a durable destroyer.
Kami killer, skeleton killer.
Skeleton killer's the one I'm really thinking.
She really loves eating Kurai for breakfast as well, with that charging bonus fearless and then Bonsai.
Yeah. Yeah. Then her feats. She got some decent feats.
She's got the good old Dakota for feint. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the second one. Yeah, well, Iajutsu, whatever.
Yeah.
She can give herself reach, which that can come into handy, especially if people aren't expecting it. It can be a little bit of a gotcha if they move into her and she pops that.
Or more importantly, if she moves into somebody with reach, it's just 1 to negate their reach.
Right.
So that's even. I find that very useful.
And then she can also give herself pierce if going up against other armor, just trying to get through.
Yeah.
So all around, I really like her. Her old sculpt, I have both the old one and the current one, and the current sculpt is just gorgeous. They did a great job with that one. Same with Hero. They really step that up, and they're about 100 times better. But I really didn't mind her old sculpt. It was a little goofy, but not terrible.
I think they've gotten better with certain models, and I'm kind of glad they're going and doing some of the resculpts on these. So I won't lie, it's kind of nice. But yeah, I so for my thoughts on it is I think she's a very solid model. I know when I was putting my 3 lists together, I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, this kind of ticks a few boxes that I really have in general for when I'm considering putting my list. First one is points. For what she does, her point cost is not bad. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
19 rice for a 4 dice melee pool model right there is pretty solid. And then throw in all the extras she has. That's pretty good. Combo attack just alone is a great one. Armor 3, and again, it's one of those, when you look at her and you compare her to some of the other models at 25 points in other factions, or even within her faction, she still holds her own. And again, that armor 3 is what really kind of makes it for me, because I see lots of models that have 4 and then are at 19 rice and they really don't have armor. So that armor 3 makes her a lot more durable. Resistance makes her, resist. That's
not Mizuki friendly.
Well, control and other things too. Hypnotic gazes, psychic drains, any of those nasty
opposed key tests.
feats that are coming. And parry 1 when she needs to be defensive, she can.
Well, it helps with Counter-Strike defense as well.
Yes, yes. And because she has 4 dice, it's easy to use that, because I don't have to spend 3 key to drop a die. 3 dice in defense that's legit, especially with martial prowess. Or prowess melee. I keep calling it martial prowess because that's what it used to be called in last edition.
I know, I still call it that too, and it confuses me sometimes when it's prowess melee. I'm like, oh wait, I can't reroll defense. I'm like, yes, I can.
Yes, I
can. And the other thing I like with her too is that her upgrade card is a just blank enhancement, so she can take extra crap too, like
that's nice.
Vial Brightness Breath, and fly across the board, bonsaiing all over the place, getting into some of those back lines and really just tearing them up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and she's a holy. Anytime she's going to get in the back line, she's going to wreak holy hell on whatever's back there. So, because usually it's not necessarily your strongest thing that's sitting on the back.
Right.
So, yeah, for sure. Jace, what do you think about her?
I mean, she makes my number 2 look like a bitch. Not gonna lie. But I mean, I guess the issue, like, and the part of the thing with, at least when I was going through my stuff, is like Takashi Ryu just has so much samurai. It's like any one of their samurais can jump up in there. It's like, it just depends on how you're playing. I do appreciate the fact that she does have combo, because combo, especially with anything that's durable, and especially with the skeletons, which seems to be everybody's big talking points, which we kind of dealt with that months ago with the 2 skeletons before they brought in the new Ashigara one. I mean, that will definitely help make quick work of them. And then the fact is, I didn't think about looking at her equipment card. The fact that she can give herself an enhancement to give herself bonsai at 21 points, then that's still absolutely worth taking it. If you want to make her your focal point, or hell, you could still pair her up with still another badass samurai, and then it's like, all right, good luck. Everybody, this is how the game's going to be. Good luck.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you can pair up with Takashi Akio and then use his virtue tokens to allow her, I believe he gives her critical strike.
See?
Yep, critical attack.
Yep, so that'd be kind of good.
If you want to do that. I know I played a list with Akio, Hiro, Hagane, I think Akira. That was the one that we had taped.
Where you destroyed all of the Shiho wolves.
And in that one, I actually messed up because I didn't use her charging bonus against the big Oni samurai guy. I can't remember his name. Tenbatsu. I kept wanting to say Tetsubo. I was like, nope, that's a weapon.
That's a big club.
Yeah.
Which I could see why you're confused, because sometimes.
Well, that's basically Tenbatsu all he is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
2 swords.
So
Okay.
she's overall solid. I like her, and really the sculpt, the new one is just a lot of fun to paint up. Even if you don't want to play Prefecture, I would pick up Hagane and Hero just because
I
they're really good sculpts.
I would say I would say Ryu probably does, and Jason kind of alluded this. Ryu does in game terms. They have a lot of samurai and they do them well. I think the other thing that GCT has done well is they have made those samurai figures look really good. So again, if you're using it for this game or using it for another game, you can't go wrong with just getting a selection of Ryu samurai for sure. You know,
Yeah.
I can't say that. I mean, some of the other factions may have some, but no, they really do a good job with them in this one. All right, so what is your number one, sir? We'll give the drum roll.
My number one will be nice, quick, and easy because it's Takashi Hiro.
Takashi Hiro. All right, so
Yeah.
I'll just put his card up. Go ahead and tell us why you like. Well, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but give us a
Yeah,
quick
it's
run
basically
through.
all the same reasons that Jason had said, overall solid fighter, that crit attack 0, all the fun key feats. But I really like the fact that, he can go in Blood of the Dragon for that double key,
Mm-hmm.
but then he can also take his upgrade and go into Claws. He can go into all 3 themes that they have currently, and he just he's kind of the jack of all trades,
Yeah.
master of most, but
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, he's just a beater. He helps buff up your other models, especially with that upgrade because it gives him the Ashigaru type and inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
So, my little Goshi that's down there at 5 rice, 2 attack is now 3. So,
Yep.
yeah, just he's
It's
good.
no, we've talked at it a little bit as nauseum. He's good, and he does he does what he needs to do, probably most efficiently with the tools that they've given him, and so I can't argue with that. All right, so we will not talk much more about him. Wow, that's going to be a fast one. That's amazing. We didn't even
I,
go 5 minutes on it.
I tried.
So that's all right. No, that's good. So again, when we have these repeats, it's going to happen on occasion. So what then is your? Do you have any honorable mentions?
I do. I technically have 2.
That's fine.
I guess technically it would be 4 if you want me to. I can go through them
Let's go through
each,
the
or
two. Let's go
because
through the two.
it's kind of they're basically the same. So it's Atsushi and Shinobu.
The
Oh, the dog
dogs.
and the trainer.
Yeah, and then it's
Okay.
Itogawa and his dogs, and
All right.
it's just
Go ahead and talk through them, and I'll kind of pull up the cards because
okay.
I actually don't have those cards.
Yeah, that's fine. Basically, it's just I like the models that allow you to bring other stuff into your list that might not be there. So, like being able to bring those dogs, or in Temple, Taiki and Nisaru and stuff like that. It's just fun. And at Sushi does a lot of interesting stuff. I really like the Hair Clan models, and I
Mm-hmm.
hope that they get a theme just because they have the unique ability strategy where if you win that tactical role, you get bonus stuff like pass tokens, or just random stuff like that. And being able to have the dogs soak up attacks, or outnumber, well, they don't outnumber because they're insignificant, but
No,
uh,
they are not insignificant. So hang on a second. I'll
I thought
Nope.
they
I think
were.
no, they're
aloof.
aloof.
Oh,
At
okay.
least Shinobu's aloof.
Yeah, I think the trained dogs might be
No, I think they're
insignificant.
aloof too. That's the reason why I was like, damn, they're better than my pit
Oh
dogs.
yeah, yeah. So never mind. So their dogs are better than everyone else's dogs, but they have that military training. So
That's why
um
they're 6 points rather than less.
Three.
yeah. And the other fun thing, which isn't the reason why these are my honorable mention, but they do have the ability to do the dog missile that has been talked about time and time again on the Ryu boards on Discord. And it's basically using Atsushi to move forward, teleport a dog to him, inspire the dog, attack exhausted model that is, a 2-die melee like the healer guy Jason liked. And he's only on 1 dice, and you have a dog at 3, and it just eats him. And then
Yeah.
it's rinse, lather, repeat.
Disgustingly so, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that in fact is that the pulse, because I was just double checking, it's a 12-inch pulse. I mean, like a small board. I mean, yeah, it's a huge just
Yeah.
really far.
The other nice thing with them too, both at Sushi and Itogawa, is that they have Scout 4.
Gets them up the board fast, yeah.
Yeah. And Itogawa has the strategy Camouflage 4. So if you win that tactical role, he kind of is able to flank and be a little bit more protected, being an outlier, trying to run to get those back idols or back zones, stuff like that. And I like him too, just because he can give friendly models light-footed, which there seems to be a lack of in Prefecture. So
it's because at that point you may as well just forget about Bushido and just it just may as well just make the game called Prefecture of Ryu, and it's just everybody where they show up and just be like, all right, so you won, right?
Basically.
I don't think it's quite that bad, but
No.
again, there's Prefecture have their flaws too. But one of them I will say is they're not as immobile as we'll say like a Minimoto or a Cult of Uri, where there's always, of course, a few outlier models, and there's the same thing in Ryu, but I will say speed is definitely not one of their things, and getting through difficult terrain is not one of their things. So, being able to have somebody that could pitch that around is a good thing. Yeah.
I just thought of something when you were talking about I think Ryu will probably get something with the Hair Clan, as people kind of tell me the lore of stuff. Now I kind of want Ito to have the Tortoise Clan, because that would just be funny. Then they got the super fast people and the super slow people, but Tortoise Clan is armored the fuck up.
Which would be the exact opposite of Ito. They're armored up and they have a whole bunch of hits.
They've got like armor 5 but speed 3.
I could deal with that. Or they get to ride dinosaurs.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, we're talking free blades now.
Yeah, ride those dinosaurs. They're wearing their turtle shell and riding the dinosaurs.
Or they
maybe
just make
they're Ninja Turtles.
Oh god.
KKZ with the Ninja Turtles.
No, they're their own special.
I never thought about that. You could totally paint the different ninja clans up with the
different,
like Long Shadow purple, Bleeding Moon red, and then
North
Star. Whatever the other one is, blue.
Yeah. Or wait, no, it's Fist of the North Star. Never mind.
No, there's North something.
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm thinking Fist of the North Star when I was like,
I don't know. Whatever. We're not talking about them right now.
Yeah, when we get to them, we'll save that. So put that on your list. All right. So to recap, Cody's top 3 are, and I'm already forgetting. It's
Hero, Hagane,
and Goshi.
And Goshi.
I'm writing this down so I remember. And Goshi. All right.
And then honorable mention, dogs.
Dogs and dog handlers.
Yeah.
Yes. I can't disagree with it. I think the dogs, you're going to see a lot more of those, and especially if they're aloof, that's going to be they fill in a lot of holes there, and they're cheap. So a lot of dogs, a lot of Goshi, and then 1 or 2 kick. I mean, that means you could start swarming and still be able to afford both of your kick-ass samurai.
Oh yeah, I mean, just between 2 Goshi and 3 dogs, you're looking at 26 rice.
Yeah, that's
and you have to take one of the dog. Well, I think you have to take both, but
I think you're gonna want to take both, but that's all right.
Yeah, so I mean, what is that? 14, 25. Yeah, you're half your list, and you're already at 5 models, and
at 2 Goshi, that's just going to bump you another 10, and then Hagani's 19 and Hero's 22, so that's, if I do the math in my head poorly, it's 40 something, so that's nothing.
Which you basically have just enough, I think, to get like one of your enhancements.
Yeah, you might have to drop like a dog to make it work, but whatever, it still would be.
Honestly, I keep the dogs and I drop a Goshi.
Yeah.
No, I keep the Goshi personally, because not having a model with a loofah out there just in those situations is worth it, because realistically the dogs can catch arrows too, but otherwise the dogs are meant to just like,
if you're putting in a
elementals.
theme, yeah. I mean, if you're putting in a theme, if you're doing ordered for battle for a tournament and you want to have the 30-point sideboard,
yeah,
then you just throw the Goshi on the sideboard. All right, so that's good. So so far we have gotten through Jason and Cody's top 3, which now and there's only been a little bit of repeat, so I'm kind of happy about that.
I think Ryu's just more diverse than I know. Like in the first episode, I think we were all the same mindset. Just again, it's tough sometimes with how diverse it is.
I think that's part of it. I mean, Ito is very diverse too, but I think we've played against, because I've played Ito almost exclusively, and you guys have played against Ito far more than you probably should. You already have some preconceived notions of what's powerful. This is kind of going into it while we've played against them, not as much. It allowed us to kind of look at the full book, and I think as we're doing these top 3, we're also thinking more outside the box. Like the Goshi was definitely thinking outside the box.
Yeah,
and I can't really disagree with it, especially if you're going to use that. It's not your most important, but it's definitely a good foundation to build on, a nice cheap foundation to build on. All right, so that being said, what are my top 3? Well, I went in my top 3 and I totally wanted to go with Cody's idea of maybe throwing in some inexpensive models and whatnot, and I started looking around and doing things, and then I said, fuck it.
Here comes the dragon.
I did. So I will say I did not take Mizuchi. I was tempted by it, but I didn't. That was too many for my taste. It's too many rice, unless I could find a way to load it with a lot of other soft things, and I just couldn't do it to make it effective.
If it had a resculpt, it would have made my top 3.
I have a feeling if they make it a resculpt, it's going to go on a bigger base and it's going to be large.
Yeah,
probably.
It's got. You got to think it's got to be on par with
Ryujin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, the sculpt isn't terrible, but if it had a better sculpt, he would have made it into my top 3, just because he is a fun model to play.
But yeah, he's a lot of fun.
He's fun. He's just a lot for me to say. If he wasn't my top 3 just because of the point value, 30 points, it's like he is a 30-point model, but compared to like Ryujin, at least I feel like Ryujin does the role a little bit better.
They're too. I am wrong.
Well, if we get the rules right, that does help. I think Ryujin is more of, and maybe we'll talk about this more once we get to Jung. Ryujin is more of a board control model, whereas Mizuchi can control a board, but it does it as it's not doing it directly. It's more of people just trying to avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the best way to say it right. Mizuchi, because Mizuchi, once you're stuck in, you're screwed, and you don't want to take numbers to take it out, so you generally just try to avoid it. Ryujin, again, you may be trying to avoid it, but once it gets there long enough, he's just pushing you away from wherever he doesn't want you.
And making everything difficult terrain as he goes along.
Exactly. Whereas Mizuchi doesn't have that quite effect on the board in general. Anyway, so back on track. Top 3. So what is my number 3 model, you're asking yourself? Well, my number 3 model is Takashi Katsumoto.
I thought he was going to be your number 1 just because I know you like it. I know you like him.
I love this model. I love the sculpt. I love the fact that he's Katsumoto, because I love The Last Samurai, the movie, and I love the character Katsumoto. And if they were trying to capture that character in a figure, they have done a spectacular job doing it. And again, I in general, I just like the figure as it is. It's one of those, those samurais. He's not necessarily in his full armor. But he just screams that kind of, respect and authority. He screams samurai, even though he's not bulked out for it, just as a figure in general. Now, playable figure, he's 23 rice. Again, I'm kind of breaking my rule of liking to have something a little cheaper, but what he brings to the table, I think, merits it. So he's another one of these figures where he's well within his lines for his cost, I think. And I think with Ryu, they've done a very good job. I really can't look at any one particular Ryu model and say, well, that should be more expensive. And I think this one's in there. So he's got a 3 melee pool, which he could boost by spending 3, a 3 range, 4 movement. 2/8 for his ki, which is really good. Weapon is a katana, +1 melee strength. Great. Again, average, nothing out of the ordinary. Critical attack 1. Great. Which if you played in Blood of the Dragon becomes a 0. So awesome even there. Push defense, again, very common theme throughout the whole the whole faction in general. Now you get into his nuts and bolts, the things that really make him great. Armor 3, awesome. Bravery, great. Leadership. So, and this is, I've totally gone off the track because I have actually written out what I wanted to say. So if I had 3 bullet points, of which I only have 2 for him because he's that awesome, he could do it in 2.
Damn.
Number 1, he is a leader of warriors. And I'll explain that in a second. So he doesn't just lead Ashigaru, he leads them all. And he controls battles. He doesn't look like a control model, but the way in which he could enhance other models helps him control and dictate the flow of battle. So what are his strengths? First one, and this is a control battle kind of thing, Tactician 2. So when I'm rolling initiative, I'm rolling 3 dice. Unless I have my traditional dice, I'm winning initiative.
Yep.
So, and even if you tie me, I win initiative because I have more dice.
Right.
In theory, as long as I don't roll a lot of ones, which happens. So tactician right there. Who's going first? That's the roll that you make at the beginning of the round to see who's gonna have the first move. So you're gonna be able to control that by having tactician 3 or tactician 2 throwing 3 dice. His second strength is inspiration. And now a lot of models have inspiration, but the key on inspiration, if you look at it, again, it's nothing major. You're going to give an extra melee, but you're going to give here. I'll throw that up really quick. I'm going to go back and forth between models here, doing double duty.
That's what she said.
That's really kind of weird.
Yeah,
that she would say that. So inspiration. Whoops, a little too big. Target friendly faction model with a rice cost less than this model, and that's the key. Less than this model gains +1 to its melee pool or range pool until the end phase. So again, lots of models have this. Jiru for Ito. There's other ones that could get. I think Hero can get it. It's a 2 rice, got to be active within 6 inches. You can do it once a turn. Nothing out of the ordinary. What makes it special for Katsumoto is that line that says with a rice cost of less than this model. He's 23 rice. That means he could give inspiration to Hero.
Yep. Or majority of the samurais.
Or Hagane. He gave it, unless it's like one of the really boss samurai. So Hero, who's normally sitting on 4 dice, can be inspired to 5. That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only samurai
defense really good.
Yeah, right?
The only samurai who can't be boosted is Akio because he's 25.
Because he's 25. So he could boost all the samurai in the faction. So that's why I put that in his strength as inspiration. When you look at other factions that do it, usually that price range is in the middle and it's not as effective. With him, you could do whoever you want, and if you're doing it to Akio, you're asking yourself, why the hell am I doing it to Akio? Because Akio is just stupid good to begin with and really doesn't need it. He doesn't need to be inspired. He inspires others, which I think is what his Deed by Blood does. So they really, again, if they were really thinking of these things, they really knocked it out of the park on how they were doing it. So the last thing that I have for his strengths is order, which, I went the wrong way with that. One of these days I'll figure out how to use a computer. Katsumoto's front. So order. Prefecture 3/8. So by order, for those of you who are not familiar, he will take a complex action, and then he will give 3 prefecture models within 8 inches of him an additional activation. Again. It's a complex action.
Yeah.
That's the worst part of it. But if you play the card that you have a bunch of pass tokens and can give an activation to him, now you give him another activation. Ta-da! Problem solved. Grumpy Cows, Grumpy Bunny.
Takashi Hero's already up to 4 if you do that.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's, ridiculous. So just ridiculous with that. So that makes him really good. Affects any of the prefecture models. Hell, he could even give an extra action to Mizuchi the dragon.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? 3 activations on Mizuchi. That's just it makes me shiver. So order, that's just legit on him. Melee prowess, we can reroll that. Leadership, that's so secondary things that I had is leadership 2. So he's not only is he got an 8-inch bubble, and again, lots of models have leadership. He has leadership 2. So all those huge 1 key Goshis and whatnot that you have in the list that are making a fear check are adding 2 to their roll. So on a fear 6, they're making that roll 50% of the time.
Yep.
So again, just really good. That's why I say leader of warriors, because he affects all the samurai except for 1. He affects all the Ashigaru. He could bet every model in the army can benefit from what he does in controlling battle. That's the next secondary thing that I have on there is his feat Tactical Master. So let's go to that. It's an XA. Tactical Master. There he is. So Tactical Master. This model gains command friendly X within 8 inches until the end phase. So command is a not as great as order or as move it or something like that. But command, if you really want, so if you have a bunch of Ashiguri that you've given an extra activation to, because this is an active feat, so he doesn't have to be the active model. So active feat, I got some extra, let's say I got some extra key lying around. I could have all 3 of those I could have 3-4 models all activate. They're all going to go before my opponent can activate any other model. So they just jump something and beat the living daylights out of it. It's like gang, except for group.
Group activation.
Except he could select who gets that. And then they go to town on something. So, or they could run up and get objectives. They could do whatever they want. You have 2 models go get an objective. You have 2 models go engage something and lock them down. And then your opponent gets to react. And if they were engaged and they were involved in a melee, they're down an action. Again, it synergizes really well with order. And again, gives you that battlefield control. When you want to have all of your models go before your opponent and you have the key to do it, you Tactical Master and call it a day. Last thing, secondary, and it's going to seem kind of crazy. He has armor 3, so he's not weak. You can't really, for what you could consider a support model, he could still go up there and mix it up. So that's basically, that's him in a nutshell. I love the model, love his abilities. I love that he can he could support the faction and the models that are in it, all of them. He gives something to every model in the faction, all the way from the 30-point Mizuchi, all the way down to the lowly Goshi and Yarimen and all the rest of them. He has something that he can do, and he can do it well. The weaknesses, and it was really hard to find him, to be perfectly honest. He's such a well-rounded figure. He's strong, but not overwhelming in melee. Like I said, I was at a stretch to try to find a weakness to him. The other one was he can be a bit of a key hog. And I will say probably the third one is his really awesome ability of being able to give 3 models a extra activation is that it's complex. But if they didn't make it complex, he would be so stupidly broken, or they would jack his rice cost to something ridiculous.
Oh, he'd be 30 if that was the case.
Yeah, so they have to make order complex. And then there's a lot of other figures that have order too, but it had to be that way. Otherwise, he would just be stupid. So again, Key Hog is about the best that I could do. He really wants to have the key. And so if there's anybody that could give him key, he will be more than happy to take it, because he wants to do Inspire. He wants to Tackle Master. Hell, I didn't even really talk about Dominate. Dominate, forcing your opponent to activate the next model, is kind of cool to do too.
Ignoring Impetuous too.
That's the big one, yeah.
Yeah.
It's ignoring Impetuous. Actually, and since, does it say specifically enemy, or is it owned? Because if it's owned,
it says enemy.
Okay, if it was owned, then you could force your own dudes to be like, yeah, no, I'm going to dominate this dude to go do it, and screw you, Impetuous. if someone throws it out on you.
And it's not an opposed key test either.
Yeah, you just
there's
do
that
it.
too.
That's what makes it good. So for all those things, if you're looking to make him a focal point of your army, you can just remember he may not be the brawler eliminator model like a hero, like an Akio, like a Hagane. He could still hold his own in combat. Don't get that wrong. He can. But where he really shines is supporting everybody else. He will make all the other models in your army that much better, and you will control the battle. You may not control the board, but you will control it and dictate the battle. And that's why I like him. Thoughts, gentlemen?
He's good. I know he's very popular if you look up the lists on the Ryu boards and whatnot. I really feel like, especially with everything that you said, if you're on a budget and you want to get like a starter box plus one model, I would probably say get this guy. He's
Very
going to
hard
give
not
you, he's going to give you the most, I guess, flexibility in quotation marks, but he'll allow you to, like you said, give your guys extra activations or, get them to walk around, give them extra dice. He'll just kind of allow you to really see what all Ryu can do, and it's just with this one guy.
Right. He will make everybody in that box set, in that starter, better.
Yeah.
Whether it's giving them an extra, like you said, extra order, just win, or just flat out winning every tactical roll.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, that's huge.
So that's that. Again, could I put him number one? I have a reason for my number one. And even though he's an expensive model, he is worth. You were saying flexibility. I call it bang for your buck. He gives you absolute bang for your buck.
Absolutely.
Jason, what do you think?
I mean, I'm jealous of Katsumoto as I took more of a look into him, just because I compare him to my big support-esque model for a lot of Rice, which is Oda and Tantalo. The fact that you're so generic with all of your inspiration stuff, I'm like, damn, I wish Oda and Tantalo could do that, because I'm restricted by keywords, like only could do it on Buto. And Armor 3 is just huge. I mean, that is all. If anybody says otherwise, I mean, there's only, I think, 2 models in the game that go above Armor 3, and I think they're both Minimoto models. So
there's a few Minimotos, yeah.
Armor 3, as far as I'm concerned, is top echelon of Armor and Bushido, because I mean,
it's pretty common. I will say it's pretty common in Ryu, and you would expect a samurai to be armored. Me coming from Ito, we're we're under armored because we're fast. So I could forgive that, but Armor 3, you're not wrong. It's legit. It gives you the protection that you need in case you botch something, which I botch on a regular basis.
And even looking at Katsumoto myself, when I was deciding my top 3, he was a candidate for number 2. The only reason why I didn't put him in at my number 2 spot was, one, a little bit, I wanted to mix it up a little bit, but 2, even though he is absolutely worth his rice, I kind of went with the more budget option. And that was the only reason why I didn't make him my number 2, because otherwise it would have just been boom, all these awesome samurai.
Well, funny you should mention that, Jason, because my number 2 is Hanzo.
Oh, okay.
So I can't disagree with you on that, because Hanzo is pretty. Did I actually close his card out? I hope I didn't. No, I didn't. I must have been thinking ahead of time. There's a shock.
I'm kind of surprised actually that Hanzo is your number 2.
Well, so here's my quick bullet points on Hanzo. He's a leader of men, specifically Ashigaru. So he like you said, he's a we'll call him mini Katsumoto. He's mini me running around, budget Katsumoto. But he only is focused on Ashigaru, whereas Katsumoto is the whole army. He is strong.
Katsumoto is Tarjay versus Hanzo, which is Sam's Club.
There you go. Not even that. He's more like Meyer. He's strong in melee. Yeah, he only has 3 melee pool, but Cleave is like having 2 extra dice. Because when you get Brutal 2, it's essentially 2 extra dice. Last one, he's a good combo of support and attack. Again, cleave, move it. He could be used in a lot of different ways. Even the categories with me on it. So what are his strengths? And just because Jason's kind of gone over things, I'm going to go through it. So his strengths are, it's twofold for the first one. It's move it and command. So move it, as we said, with spending 4 ki, he can move a bunch of models, and they don't waste an activation doing it. So that helps you get your guys up into position as fast as possible. It's 4 ki, so that means you're not doing it round 1, but you're definitely doing it round 2. And that just allows them to get in position. And then that's when you pop command, which doesn't take any ki. And you still haven't used an activation yet because he's the it just as if you're the active model. So turn 2, move it up. They all get into range to where they could do something, whether it's flip an objective or attack somebody. Then bam, you do command, and 2 of those Ashiguru now both activate at the same time. Bushwhack a model, flip an objective, hold up a model, and then so then you're able to do that. So again, he really does the support job well. Next strength, it's going to be the obvious one, cleave.
Oh yeah.
Anything that gets brutal too is kind of stupid. Plus, I'm going to throw in there, because the theme on him was he does 2 things really well. So move it command was the first one, cleave, and weapon strength 2. That's a beautiful combination right there. Plus, he has powerful attack 1, which you're probably not going to use that often, but if it's there, so take advantage of it. I know I will. So, and plus 2, that just helps you pierce armor, or if they're unarmored, he's just really tearing through people. And last but not least, I didn't double up on this one, is leadership 1-8. So again, and he has tactician. So again, everything Jason has probably called it the best. Everything that Katsumoto does, he does a little bit less, or not as many, but he's hella cheaper. So if you don't want to put Katsumoto in your list, putting Hanzo in the list is not a bad way to go.
Or if you want to increase your numbers, Hanzo and Agoshi equals Katsumoto.
Pretty much. Yeah.
At least rice-wise.
And Hanzo needs the only thing he doesn't do that I would love him to be able to do would be some kind of inspiration to get an extra die out of somebody. But again, if you do that's all
of a sudden he's probably at that point.
He's at 20. He's at 20, and he's more of a key hog than Katsumoto is. So
the only he would be able to do like inspiration Sishe and stay at the same rice, because there's only like 2 of them, so it really wouldn't matter.
Right. I mean, you could do Ashiguru. I mean, he could be so. Whereas Katsumoto does it to everybody, and they have to be a less rice cost. He does it to because his rice cost. Yeah, just because his rice cost is 18, he's pretty much affecting every Ashiguru. I don't think there's an Ashiguru that's higher rice cost than him.
No, the only one that would be Hero with the enhancement.
Hiro Masa.
No.
Oh, Hero. Yeah, if you made Hero with the enhancement,
Hero.
It becomes Ashiguru. So and I mentioned just briefly, so I kind of sidetracked my secondary things. His secondary was Tactician 1, which I kind of covered. If you're looking for cheap version of Katsumoto, Hanzo does it. So you're rolling 2 dice on the tactical roll rather than 1. And let me tell you, just adding 1 die to the tactical roll is a huge advantage if your opponent doesn't have Tactician
or Future Sight.
And then he has Armor 2. Most Ashiguru, again, I'm kind of falling back on the Ito background of it, but most of your Ashiguru don't have heavy armor. 2 armor is what my samurai are at. So he's armored like an Ito samurai, which that's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
Weaknesses. Now, while I've been praising him for being very rice efficient, at 18 rice, he is pretty pricey. For a 3 melee pool model, that's a hybrid support. He's trying to do 2 things, and he does both of them moderately well. He doesn't do them phenomenally well. That's a Katsumoto, but he does them pretty decently. Abilities are all focused on Ashiguru. Well, that's what he does. Again, he's a cheaper version of somebody that does everything. And then split on best how to use them. Do I want to put him up front beating the crap out of stuff? Well, that's going to take 2 of my ki to use Cleave instead of saving it to do I'm moving my entire force up and then activating 2 of them through command to beat the crap out of somebody. again, it's a little bit of a it's trying to do too many things at once. But I think we've kind of discussed Hanzo a little bit ad nauseum a little bit. He's a good model. He does what he does really well. I think we could all agree on that, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he probably would have been my top 2, but I didn't want to. I wanted to
Be a
do
little different.
Hakane. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Because, but yeah, he's really good. And every Ashigaru list I make, he's number 1. Or starts there. I think I said that earlier. Yeah.
I mean, I am torn. I really do like Hiromasa, and that's because Hiromasa gives you the flexibility between being a ranged threat and being a melee threat. But Hanzo's just so much better.
Yeah.
If his pistol was reload 1 versus 2, I feel like he'd be better. But with it being reload 2, it's just like you're basically shooting that once and then you're in combat because it's just a shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got to spend extra points to take the paper cartridges, which at that point then he's worth more than Hanzo.
Yeah, I mean he's.
Oh no, he'd be the same. He's 16. I thought for some reason Hiromasa was 18 also.
But that still just makes it reload 1.
Right. But yeah, I mean, again,
and he's only range 2.
Yeah.
If he was range 3,
you got a boost to get it.
Like if his profile was how it is now, but he was like 14 rice would be too cheap. But if he was even 15, even though it's only 1 rice, that would really make a difference with Hiromasa. Well, yeah. I mean, same thing with Hanzo. Shoot, if Hanzo was 16, he'd be the best model in the game. But even if he was 17, it would really help. But I feel like they did a really good job balancing some of these hybrid characters, and like Hanzo and Katsumoto.
Like I said, I really think with Ryu, they really did a nice job on getting the rice costs in line for what they do. I really have a hard time arguing that anybody's under or over costed.
Yeah, the best way I think about it is it's right at that point where it's like you can't take everything you want, but it's also not like, oh, I needed these 3 extra models to make the list work. It's just like, oh, I need 1 or 2 extra rice to fit this guy in, so I have to drop off equipment, or I'm passing on like battle plans or something like that if I want the model. And it really makes you think, and I have enjoyed playing around with some of these lists, just theory crafting. And
and again, for a faction that seems primarily we're big samurai, we beat, we make holes in armies, and we're the samurai Ashiguri, don't have a whole lot of wizards and don't do this, that. We don't raise undead. We don't fly across the sky like Tengu. We don't sneak up on you. We just come forward, and we're that line. We are the samurai. I mean, they got the dogs now, but that's, what's coming with that. There's a lot that you could do with it, and they do have certain things. They have Mizuchi. They've got some really good samurai. They've got a lot of Ashiguru. So you could do Swarmy. You could do elite samurai. You have a lot of variety in there, and it's just fun. I mean, it really is. You could be very direct, or you could be very clever. As a faction goes, and again, like you said, we've been saying, it's priced very well. You're getting the best bang for your buck with it.
Absolutely.
All right. That takes us to, so best bang for your buck, which means obviously I'm going to have like a 4-point model for my number 1, right?
I mean, at this point, I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't exist in this list. In this faction. However, the reason why I have picked this model, and I'm stalling for time while I pull this up. The reason why I picked this model is I think that this model best represents in the entire game what a high rice cost model should do. And it is Akio.
I love playing this model.
This model is, so again, we'll go with the Itu Itsunagi example, and I'm sure I could go with some other. I could even say Mizuchi within the faction itself. They are high rice cost models. And there's going to be some downside to them, whether it's on a large base, it's going to not move around as much, so on and so forth, or it just seems like a glass cannon and gets shattered all the time. Takashi Akio for 25 points, and that's my first bullet point on him is what a 25-point model should look like.
Yeah.
If he does, and I haven't even looked at the back of the card because he's even got a few extra things on the back of the card that he does above and beyond just the stuff his feats. So other bullet points on him. He has kata and prowess melee. Yes, please. I'll take both of those. There's the only reason I'm re-rolling my dice is, I've rolled a 1. Well, unless I rolled 3 1s, there's no real reason for me to re-roll the dice unless I really want to, because I'm getting a success on it, or I want to have a better. I only put 1 die in defense, and I don't want to sit on that 1. So I'm going to I'm going to roll it again.
Yep.
Or I'm just trying to get a 6. Last but not least, he could handle anything. I mean, he really can. Whatever you're going to throw at him to pin him down, to try and kill him, do whatever, he is going to handle it. So just taking a quick look at his card before I go into his strengths and weakness. Melee pool of 4, but he could boost it for 2. God forbid that Ryu makes a gun, because the first model whose hands I'm going to put it in is going to be Takashi Akio.
Yeah.
4 ranged, and I could boost it for 2. He moves 4. Who doesn't? He's wearing 3 armor. He's going to move slow. If you call 4 slow. 2-8, normal key stat line. He could actually hold on to a bit more keys. So if Ryu actually had a way of, other than a 1-key model being able to channel, I'd be channeling it to him probably.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You look at what he could do with his katana. So it's +1 damage. That's a little bit of a downer. You'd like it to be able where he, like Rakasha, the Oni, with a +4 melee strength, but he's not an Oni. He's a guy wielding a katana. But look at the abilities. Combo 0. Critical attack 0. Counter-strike defense 1. Oh, darn, we had to penalize him by taking counter-strike defense, so his 4 dice becomes 3. Oh, wait, I'll spend 2 key. Problem solved.
Whoops.
Yep.
All that's good stuff. Armor 3. Fearless. Indomitable 1. And he has split attack. Kata. Melee prowess. Virtue within 8 inches and resistance 1. All of it fantastic. So, strengths of the model. He's just a great melee model. You look at his melee pool. You look at the traits he has. You look at the feats that he has. All of it makes him a melee. If you thought Takashi Hiro was a melee beast, this is what a true melee beast looks like. Maybe not as offensive because he doesn't have unblockable, but perfect defense just means when he has to defend himself, or you decide to put him against something you really, really shouldn't, he's probably going to defend himself.
Yep.
He has and so now we got to get on the back of the stuff. So he has Undachi. Enemy models can't use that. That's his unique ability. Here, let me pull this up because we'll be talking feats here in just a second anyway. So his next strength is his unique ability, Undachi, all the way at the bottom, which it should be towards the top because it's so freaking phenomenal. Enemy models may not use the prowess trait while involved in melee exchange with this model. So the biggest thing that allows you to reroll most of your melee dice, you can't use. Now, you could use other things. Silver Moon are not going to be terribly phased by this because they have so many ways to reroll dice, and other people might have some other ways to reroll dice. But the majority of most melee figures have melee prowess melee. They can't use it.
Mm-hmm.
That just gives them a leg up. Huge leg up. Last one, prowess and kata, which really falls into being a great melee model. We said it again, but I have to say it once more because it's absolutely filthy. Just disgusting. Disgustingly good. Other benefits. He has passive boosts with team with virtue and his virtue benefits. So just being able to give out the virtue token is just great. And then the actual benefits they get from that virtue is really good. So if somebody, when they spend that virtue token, whether it's him or somebody else, reduce the cost of the model's special attacks and defenses. Great. Melee models gain powerful attacks. So if they don't have it, so little Goshi is about to go against somebody, is -1 on the attack, hey, spend that virtue token. Give yourself powerful attack 1. And, somebody else inspired you, so now you could waste that die. Throw 2 in attack. I'm going to make you a sacrificial missile, but Lord help you if I hit.
Right.
Or I'll just give it critical attack. Why the hell not? Because if I get through, I'm going to really do something. Or pierce, so I could ignore one of your armor. I mean, all of those are legit on any model in any faction that's in melee.
Just taking a quick look here, you might not be able to put it on GwtG because it does say friendly samurais. That's what I was checking because I know that I've got to check the same thing for my stuff because otherwise I'm like I'm writing a very strongly worded letter because Oda and Tantalo can do something similar, but Akayo's just like, yeah, no, everybody, you get to do whatever the hell you want.
I can do whatever I want. No, okay, so good. He is restricted on samurai. I probably should. I was so excited. He's no Katsumoto.
I mean, it's still you still have some of the 15, 16 point samurai that are in Ryu though. They're just like, oh well, look at this now. I am now really scary.
Well, it's any samurai. So from hero all the way down to Genji, everybody, as long as you have samurai in your name, you could use the virtue token to do any of these fun things, which I think is great. Other passive ability, so quickly running through his feats, like you said, he's a melee monster if he wants to be. Dakote, he gets feint 1. Hey, reroll one of those defense dice because that's cool. Ayujitsu, which is he gets reach. So I don't have lightning strike and you have reach, so I'm just going to come in, pop 1 key. Hey, we're both striking at the same time, or I'm striking first finally because I'm engaging you, or you're coming into me. I'm going to give myself reach. I strike first. Perfect defense. Its cost is heavy in key, but it's an instant, and I get impenetrable defense until the end of the activation. So, yeah, I see nothing wrong with that. Other passive benefits, we've kind of said it on a bunch of these, or other benefits, not secondary, we'll call it. Armor 3, again, it seems to be standard for the samurai, but I can't discount it. It makes those figures that have a negative harder to get through and do anything to him. It makes those like a Raksha, who probably has the highest melee strength in the game at +4. Possibly they could get powerful attack, which would take it to +7. Comes down to reality a little bit, so he's protected by that. Resistance 1 against those controls or any of those opposed key feats, he'll have 2 dice, adding 1 to it just makes him that much better. Like I said, do I want to say I have a bromance with him? Do I love him a lot? The word I would say is absolutely yes. I really.
Do you wish you went to the dark side and played for Ito? A little bit.
I wish he did. I mean, I like this model a lot, and I won't lie. When I had way back in the day, I had an extra. Ryu was going to be my next faction, but I wanted to get a new player in, so I gave him all my Ryu stuff. Now, again, I mostly won it, and I had split a box. I had really gotten a 2-player starter to get the Ito stuff out of it. So I had an old starter, and I had a 2-player starter. So I had a lot of figures for Ryu. What a great way to introduce somebody to the game, and that person really, really took to it. It's just we don't get to see them that much anymore because they live far away. So kind of to round out Takashi Akio before we throw it to everybody else to talk about him. Weaknesses, range, sort of. He doesn't have range defense, but the armor helps mitigate this weakness. So is it really a weakness? Yeah, I guess.
It is if you play against Jason.
It is if you play against Jason, or if you go against Rick. If you don't want to get involved in melee with him, yeah, shoot him to death. So range could kind of mess him up. Point cost, he's 25 rice, but as I kind of said, this is what a 25. If you're gonna spend a quarter of your points on a model, this is the model to do it with. Last, if I had to find a true weakness for him, if there was one way that you're gonna mess up Akio, knock his ass down, prone.
That's most samurai though.
Like I said, I was at a stretch to try to find something that's a true weakness on him. Knock his ass down.
Prone is huge against a lot of models.
Yeah.
Especially the expensive ones like him. Ryujin can be proned.
Yeah, I
Oh.
find that kind of funny. How could you prone water? But
I don't
apparently you
know.
can.
But yeah, you don't think about it, and then it's like, oh, wait a second, and I mean,
Mhm.
it hurts him, but having the 4 melee pool, I mean, if he has to stand up, he's still at 3. It's not like he's
Right.
dropping, and even if he's exhausted, he's down to 2.
And they
Well,
could spend 2 ki just to mitigate it. I
yeah,
mean, I guess you could also say so any of the usual culprits. Maybe I should have changed prone out of it and put surprised. Surprise can mess with him a bit.
yeah, surprised would hurt, but I mean, overall, he is solid.
No, he's solid. Yeah, yeah.
I
So go ahead.
every
You keep talking about him because I've done enough man praising of
Yeah,
him.
I was just gonna say every list that I've played for Ryu lately, it's always been him. Usually him, hero, and then other crit attack people just because why not?
Because it's fun.
But yeah, I really have a hard time not making a list with him in it. Not because he's like, the best model in the game or anything like that. He's just a lot of fun when he's on the board.
I absolutely agree with that.
And he's got a really, really cool sculpt.
Yes.
Yeah, I've
Cool
seen that.
sculpt, fun to play with. Again, I've said it a million times. He is what I would like 25-point models to be.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Jason, what do you think about him?
I want to like Akio. He's not a bad model. The only reason why he wasn't really my number one is that, and I forget who I had this conversation with. He is good, but if you want to take the budget option and take Hero, Hero is. I just think Hero covers a little bit more ground, and you get 3 points back for him. Model itself is still great, and everything else that he can do, and he has combos, so that's already a great thing, and of course crit attack. So for spending the 3 extra points to basically upgrade Hero and take him instead of him, worth it. But if you're in a real tight pinch where it's like, you know what, there are some things where it's like I need those points because I can do other things. Hero, to me, I think does a little bit of a better job being that point and shoot like you were talking about earlier. Akio can still do it, but and it comes down mainly to the fact that Hero can get unblockable. That really kind of that pushes him over the edge for me. Otherwise, I mean, Akio is great, or he is fun. And like you said, in the few times where I played outside of Silvermoon, when I all of a sudden can't reroll my prowess, it's like, oh crap. Well, that ruins my day.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The dogs are going nuts. Apparently, we're being invaded or something. No, I like I said. So that's my top 3. I do have one honorable mention. I'd limited myself, which is good because we're gonna totally blow past our what we said we weren't gonna go. So my honorable mention, and it's one that Jason already said, is Daisuke.
Oh,
I
I thought I thought that was going to be like the
sorry.
one reach out there where it's like nobody was going to really pick him.
No, I had a hard time not putting him in my top 3. I'll be honest. It was between him and Katsumoto, and I'm like, I can't put Katsumoto just does so damn much. I cannot put him below there. I mean, I really wanted to get some more cost efficient samurai. I mean, I could have probably thrown Genji in there as a 13-point samurai. He's awesome.
Genji's 16.
Oh, is he 16?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
Genji's the 4-die melee one.
Yeah. He's the 4-die at 16.
Whatever.
That's why I like him. So anyway, so Daisuke, what we kind of talked about him briefly already. Why do I like him? Is at 8 points, he's an incredible support model, flat out.
Mm-hmm.
With a heal bubble of 8 inches, which is the next thing, prayer of healing and purification. Being able to do that, not 8 inches, within 6 inches, he could stay relatively safe or behind something. He doesn't have to target it. He just selects a model and they get healed too, or they get 2 terrible poison counters taken off them or something like that. He can do quite a bit of stuff. And then the last thing, he has a decent virtue ability. Giving courage 1 is not the worst in the world. So combine that with Katsumoto throwing out plus, Katsumoto gives you 2 on the 1 die roll plus a courage of 1, which gives another 1 to your die roll. That's just silly.
Yeah.
Yep, you're even getting past that Fear 6 for Oni and a lot of cult models where it's like, I'm not that afraid of you.
Yeah. So I really like it. Like I said, it was for 8 points. He is a solid support model. He isn't gonna be running and the heal doesn't cost any points. You just either be base to base or spend some key to do it at a 6-inch bubble.
Mhm.
There's nothing that I don't like about that model. And if it wasn't for the fact that Katsumoto just affects so much more, he would have probably been my number 3. All right, so that brings us to the wonderful point where the three of us will yell at each other like crazy sportscasters and say, "Well, you're stupid and your model sucks." No, I don't think we're going to do that. So we're going to try to mesh our
No, because it's not
threes.
Ito.
It's not, okay, well, we're gonna try to mesh our threes together. So by my count, we've kind of agreed on 3 models. At least 2 of us agreed on 3 models just based on our lists. Whether it was honorable mention or it was above that. So 2 of us had Hero in our top 3s, Takashi Hero.
Mhm.
Let me get us into this more fan friendly. Move that. We'll go to this. So, whoa, Cody's a little off center.
Yeah, my
That's
camera's all jacked up.
That's all right. You had glare early on. Here, I'll go to this one. Perfect. See, you're all good. So we had 2 people who had Hero in their top 3. We had 2 people who had Hanzo in their top 3, and then we had this is where we all came in agreement on something, and then we had one person with their honorable mention and one person in their actually 2 in honorable mention for Daisuke.
Mhm.
So I have no problem saying that Hero and Hanzo are definitely in the top 3.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would
Does
be okay with
Daisuke
putting
make
them
it
1, 2.
1, 2, Hero number
Mhm.
1, Hanzo number 2? Hanzo is a
Yeah.
solid number 2. Again,
Yeah.
and I think we've said it for when we did both those when we talked about both those models. If you wanted to build a list and make a foundation for it, those 2 would be a good starting point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, if I would have gone first, Hanzo probably would have been number 2 for me. But with Jason going first, I was like, I'll be different. Let's go with Hagane.
Okay. Okay. No, and again, I don't see Hagane being a bad thing. Now the question is, does Daisuke make the number 3?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Okay.
It's tough for me to say that he makes the number 3, especially with some of the other candidates that were thrown out there. Personally, I'm between either Hagane or Katsumoto being the number 3. Daisuke's awesome for what he does, but arguing that he should be the number 3 for me is like it's I could try to argue my way for it, but I can't really see it. I would think that either honestly, I think Hagane would probably be my number 3 spot, or I could be swayed either way to that or Katsumoto because they're
Okay.
both solid.
Cody, what are your thoughts? And then I'll kind of try to be quick on mine.
With him, I think I would be okay with putting him at the number 1 honorable mention.
Okay.
Yeah, he should be
Just
like everybody's
because
honorable mention.
he is something that you should look at adding into your list, but I don't think that he's necessarily something to build your list around.
Okay.
Where like Hero, Hanzo, and I would say probably Katsumoto as number 3, just because like you touched on, he does everything for the faction.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just solid all around, and I personally don't take him, but that's just because I'm kind of like, oh, everyone else takes him, but
that's good enough. I mean, to be honest. So if your criteria is this is what I'm going to build my army around. Hero, I'm going to have a bunch of ass kicking monsters, and I have to have something to support him. Hanzo, he's going to be leading a whole troop of Ashigaru, so he's my focal point, and then I build around him. Then I agree with you. Daisuke does not make the top 3,
right?
Because you really can't build around him. He heals. He is a support. He is a support model, flat out. And you can't really build around a support model because it has to support something. That being said, I will have to say, and I think we're probably all be in agreement on it, that Katsumoto would be the number 3. which is funny because he is kind of a support model. But the trick being is, and Hanzo to a certain degree is a support model too, except that he could hold his own in melee. Katsumoto could hold his own in melee, but Katsumoto makes the entire army that much more effective, whereas Daisuke keeps them alive.
Yeah, agreed. And you can build around Katsumoto. Daisuke,
In theory, you could build around. In theory, you could build around Daisuke. I'm not going to say
Daisuke to
you
me
can't.
is salt. He's like he's good, but you just kind of add him there, like when you need a little bit something. You need a little oomph because like you're just missing something. So you add a little bit of salt. That's how I'm a little bit hungry, so that's what I'm thinking of food right now.
I'm the same
But
way.
that's how I see Daisuke. So I mean, like, great, like if you're like thinking about if you want to get him, but maybe he's something that you maybe add on later on. You don't need him as like a first purchase or adding in first. Kasamoto, I mean, you can build around him and you're not going to go too wrong because, like you said, he supports everybody and he can make everybody better. He'll be a fulcrum point and he can protect himself.
That's the key. Whereas if you're going to build around Daisuke can't protect himself. He'll get missiled by a Rajan's Breath Hagane or somebody else just flying through, or he takes a stray bullet from a bow shot and gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whereas Katsumoto can take it.
I'd rather take a Goshi over Daisuke or whatever his name is. Yeah, Daisuke.
Daisuke, I'll be honest, I think he does make the number one honorable mention, and if I'm putting him in a list and I have if I have the points to do it, I'd probably take him because I'm not going to lie, Hiro, Hagane, Akio, all of your samurai figures are going to get beat up, and unless they stop him, healing 2 on a 6 health model, that's huge.
Yeah.
That keeps him in. And then there's all the other effects that they're going to do. So I need to make sure that Katsumoto or somebody has key to do things. And so if the Kenshi Temple come in and they spirit block the crap out of me, well, then I have him go and remove it.
That's true. And I guess you can always put like Patient Dragon because you're keeping him back. So if he doesn't need to heal, he can just take the wait action to get 2 pass tokens.
Yep.
Exactly. And we know what pass tokens equal at some point. If you get 5 of them, cha-ching, extra activation. If you get that card
want.
too. If you want, yeah,
Otherwise you just outpass ninjas.
That and playing those pass tokens can really add up. Yeah. So can we say then top 3 hero number 1?
Yep.
22 points, but probably the most cost-effective killer out there. I would love to say Akio, but if Akio can do a lot of things, Hero, if I want to eliminate a model, that's who I sick him with.
It also feels, I don't want to say better losing Hero, but you're not as upset as when you lose Akio. Because you lose Akio and you're just like, oof, all the wind out of the sails. Where Hero, it's like, well, that really sucked, but it wasn't like, because Akio's boosting, with virtue and everything else, so it hurts more. Where Hero, it's just like, oh darn, I lost the big beater, but I have Hagane or Katsumoto or
Yeah, I got some other beater in the list. Even a Hanzo could be considered a beater for a certain thing. And I think the other reason why I like Hero, again, he just ability wise, he's great. But for 22 points, I'm not gun shy about spending 3 rice, taking him to 25 to get some enhancements or equipment on him.
Oh, exactly. That's why I said that's why he outed Akio for my number 1 spot is I get 3 points back to make him to customize him however I want or go spend 3 points on where I need it.
Well, yeah, for the same rice cost as Akio, you can make him more survivable. You can give him that range defense with Arashi's fan or, whatever it might be, you can equip him with.
Or I can make him an Ashiguri, and then I could take him in all lists. So, definitely. So I think we're all in agreement. Hero's number 1. Number 2, Hanzo. I mean, there probably could be we could probably have some arguments to shift some things around, but I'll be honest. If I'm leading an Ashiguri army, or if I want to start building at that point, Hanzo is not. If I'm not going to have Katsumoto in the list, Hanzo's going to be in there.
Absolutely.
And if I'm going to build a swarm list, I'm probably going to make Hanzo the tip of the spear on that. I shouldn't say tip of the spear, but he's going to be the base that I build around.
Mhm.
So I'm
Yeah,
going to have a lot of Ashiguri in there. He's going to do a nice job with them.
I do hope that they, I mean, I want the Hair Clan, theme or whatever, but I hope that they do make more Gunso models just to give a little bit more flexibility, whatever they may do, but a couple different price points, and maybe make it harder to just say that Hanzo's that auto include,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And probably the reason why I put him over Katsumoto in the number 2 is specifically cost. He does everything that he does most things. He doesn't do everything. He does most of what Katsumoto does, not as well, but he also saves you 4 rice. No, 5 rice.
6.
5 rice. 6 rice. No, he's 18.
He's
Yeah, it's
18
5.
versus 23, so
So
5.
5.
Yeah.
So you save 5 rice.
Yeah, you can
Which
take
that's
Hanzo and Agoshi.
Agoshi. Yeah, you even said it earlier. So it saves you 5 rice. Which when you're putting together your list, that's going to be a big thing. And with Brutal 2, I think he's probably a better beater than Katsumoto.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
That being
Dice
said, that being said, I still say Katsumoto is definitely you may have other things that could go into number 3, and we definitely have other things that we think could go in there, but Katsumoto definitely could fall into a number 3. I would like to put something that's a bit more rice efficient in there, but just what he brings to the table.
Oh yeah,
It's
if we
unbelievable.
expanded this to top 5, I mean,
He'd
the
probably
3
drop
of
down a
them,
bit, but he's there.
yeah, he would
Mhm.
for sure be in the top 5.
Mhm.
But for what we're doing, top 3, I've never played him, but I've read the boards. On paper, he's really good. And, all 3 of these models that we've elected as our top 3, if you get the starter box plus one of them,
I think
you're gonna
Hanzo.
have
Oh,
fun.
no, Hanzo doesn't. Hanzo came in the old starter, not the new
Yeah,
starter. So
yeah,
yeah,
because it's Hiramasa in the new one, so
right,
you
right.
can like flip flop him out for Hanzo, or I can't remember the exact rice cost if it's 70 or whatever they are, but
Yeah, I think
any
around
of those
70,
models
75.
you can build that starter box up and just change how it plays, and might be
Yeah.
good, it might be bad, I don't know, I've never tried it.
But the trick is you really could add. You could any of these 3 models that we have in our top 3. You could add to that starter box. It will do something for them. Hero's going to give you a solid killing model. He's not going to do a whole lot in the support, but he's going to kill. Hanzo is going to do a much better job supporting the box and giving more and giving you an extra beater than Hiromasa does. Hiromasa just gives you the shoot and attack kind of thing, and with a little bit of support because he has leadership. Katsumoto makes everybody in that box better.
Yes.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah, I still stand by, if you're only able to afford the box plus one model, Katsumoto would be that number 1 model, just because he would give you the best bang for your buck.
What comes in that? The starter, does that have Aki or does that have Hero in there? I think it has Agani in there.
No,
Or
that
that was
was
the old one.
that was the
No,
old one with Hero, I
yeah,
think.
it's got Hiramasa.
It's Hiromasa for sure.
What is it? Takashi.
I'm just trying to figure out what
Kenta?
samurai in there.
No, not Kenta.
Oh, it's got Genji. It's got, because I know Genji's in the starter.
It's not.
I'm looking up the
Genji.
website
I don't
right
think
now.
it's Genji. It's Akira, I think.
It's Akira. Okay.
Let me take a look here. I think I'm pulling up the thing in the store here right now.
Thank you.
What is her name? Mako. I think it's got
Mika.
No, Mika. Yeah, I knew it was one of those down there at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, so the set comes with Akira, Takashi Akira.
Okay.
It comes with Hiromasa.
Okay.
Takashi Tetsuya.
Okay. Yeah.
Takashi
okay.
Mika.
Yeah.
Ima.
And then
Ima. Yeah.
And then it comes with all the other
the cards and
all the
So
other
yeah.
cards and stuff.
So the reason why I wanted to check and see is, so there's no one that's going to be more rice than Katsumoto in that box.
Yeah.
So that means his inspiration affects everybody, and everybody in that box can all benefit from an extra activation through order.
Yep.
Tactician. So, I think Cody is absolutely spot on when he says, if you want to get one model and add it to that box, you cannot, you would not, you may have some other things that you might want to do with it, but it will definitely benefit you to have that list. It's not going to make it more difficult to play it, I guess is the best way, maybe the best way
Right.
to describe it. I would say if this was the old starter, which it had no, it didn't have Hagani in there. It had Akio, it had Hanzo,
it had Akio,
Hanzo,
Minuro. I
Minuro,
believe.
yeah, the gun, the rifle guy, the good rifle guy.
It had.
I think it just had some.
I think it might have had like a Yariman, and then it had. Do we say Akira?
I think it might have had Akira.
It had Akira in it, so it might have been instead of
Akira. Yeah,
Akira,
but
so
I don't remember. But yeah, I just bought it just because Minero's out of stock.
Yeah,
so I bought the starter set for one model.
So even that starter set Katsumoto would help with. Although you got some pretty boss freaking samurai in that list too, in that starter. So
that's kind of the nice thing with the new starter is that you drop the one Ashigaru. Well, I guess there's two because there's the Gunso. But even if you have the cards, you can always use her as a Goshi and then drop the Hiramasa, throw Kenta in, and then you can play it in. I guess you wouldn't be able to play it in Blood, but you're not far off to go either way. If you want to run all samurai or start adding in more Ashigaru or just keep playing Prefecture Patrol, it's easy to expand on.
Yes. All right. So I was trying to do something cool, but I'm not going to bother. I was going to add a banner and have things scrolling with it, but I can't type fast enough. All right. So that's our three. So Hero number 1, Hanzo number 2, Katsumoto number 3. We're all kind of in agreement that a number 1 honorable mention is definitely Daisuke. You could disagree, and that's what we'd like you to do. So
I disagree, but I'll settle for this.
You'll settle for that. Okay, that's fine. So that's what we'd like you to do. Give us your comments. Give us your idea. Are we totally crackers? Are you guys nuts? Those all suck. I would go with this, and this. Or Daisuke, how do you have him as your number 1 honorable mention? What the hell is a number 1 honorable mention? Have some balls. Put him in the top 3.
I tried.
Shinobu 2023.
So give us your thoughts. We really would love to see what you're thinking about these the top 3 that we have here, because while some of us may have played against, or we may have played with Prefecture, I will say this is probably not one of our stronger, one of the ones that we don't see a lot in our meta and that we don't play a lot. So we may be totally off base in what our thoughts were. So that's why we'd like to hear yours. Throw them down in the comments on YouTube. Throw them in someplace else, our Facebook, which we still haven't really thrown out there, which we really need to do. But give us your thoughts and ideas on this. This is what this is about. We're supposed to generate communication. Hell, give it to us in the Discord. We'll talk about it there. For the Bushido Discord. We want to kind of generate talk on this. So give us those thoughts, ideas, and we'll try and address them next time. That being said, if you did enjoy this and you're on the YouTube watching us, give us a like. Always appreciate that. Yes, there's Cody. He's live and right in front of you on the YouTube. Ooh, that's scary. He's in 3D. We'll send out 3D glasses someday. And then give us a like. We'd appreciate that. Subscribe. That way, when we get this out, you will get those notifications to let us know that, hey, we have another thing of us talking for over 2 hours, even though we said we weren't going to go over 2 hours, which is a total lie.
We tried, but
we tried. We were so close, and then we totally blew past it.
That's why we're called Bungles After Dark.
We bungled this one for sure.
Absolutely.
So, and the other thing in comments too, if there is a faction that you'd like us to talk about, doing a theme, doing a top 3, let us know. We'd be more than happy to do that. That being said, I think the next one up for us is probably going to be Minimoto with a guest speaker about it. We'll leave that to be a secret until next time, but
I don't even know who it is.
It's a secret. So we'll surprise you with it, maybe, or you won't even be there when we do it. Who knows?
Yeah,
I'll just sit back and not talk as much. I doubt it. I like talking.
That means I'll have hosting duty that day.
Or we'll just have me on permamute. We'll give Jason the control just to permamute me. There we go. That'll be very frustrating. My cat would appreciate it, but no one else will. All right. So thanks for dragging on and listening to us. We hope you enjoyed this. And like we mentioned, do all those good things, comment, like, subscribe, and we will be back again in the near future with a whole nother one. We'll be talking themes, we'll be talking top 3, we'll be talking another game soon. I'm thinking probably in the next 2 weeks we're going to be rolling out another game that we'll be talking about, so we hope you enjoy that too.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So, have a great day or evening, wherever you may be, and we'll see you soon. Have a good day. And speaking of flaming hot, welcome Grandmaster Cody to the show.
What's up? Speaking of flaming hot, Mountain Dew makes a great margarita.